This guy on this side, yes, is Orcs.
Originally, I was competing as a player. I actually used to play for XL in the UK, and the sort of final season that I played for them, we managed to win the UK scene at the time, which was huge. And I think as a player, there was always this feeling that maybe at some point it'd be the end of my career, where I hit a wall, I hit a ceiling that I couldn't surpass. But I don't feel that with casting. I feel like I can just keep pushing myself and hopefully reach the top one day.
You ready for the series? You excited?
I'm hyped. I'm ready.
I think for anyone interested in getting into casting, a lot of it is just experience. It's, finding opportunities to cast tournaments that maybe no one else is doing, that are unpaid, starting off, getting a lot of experience on your belt and working on things. And then that's when you can start to move to the paid opportunities. It becomes more of a regular thing. I think Captain Flowers, who casts in the NALCS, he said that he would just cast anything that he could, absolutely anything that wasn't being casted already. And that gave him a ton of experience, a ton of growth. And I think when you're growing, a lot of people see, they look above them and they see these casters and they go, I want to be like this caster, I want to be like this caster. And it's good to take inspiration and to look at their strengths and see how you can apply that to your casting. But my biggest bit of advice is be yourself. Because casting, there's so much variety we're fortunate to have. But I think if you try and be someone else, you're never going to be as good as them. But if you try and be yourself, you can be the best at that. And a lot of people will love you for it. They'll feel your genuine side and they'll enjoy the energy that you can bring.
High five, high five. High five, there we go, nice.
Oh, just in time to have him on the desk. Oh, look at him.
Oh, he's so cute.
He might be the cutest person ever. Orcs, it's been a pleasure having you, pleasure knowing you. You've been an amazing caster, and I hope you do continue to grow. You're an absolutely fantastic person. That's all right. I truly mean it. Let's have a look at this next series then. Let's have a look at the Nordavind versus Tricked matchup that we've got coming your way. And we didn't have as much time to cover it in the pregame, but I kind of want to get your guys' expectations for this series. I really want to reiterate and revisit that. I know that Gulborg, you're heavily in the Tricked camp, but how are you feeling about it actually, Orcs?
Honestly, it's hard to call because I think in current form, Tricked are struggling, and I think we've seen a high peak from them, but they haven't been able to maintain that towards the end of the season. And obviously, losing that series and that mana 2-0, it doesn't put my confidence in them pretty high. But for Nordavind, we did also see a slump, but they managed to bounce back. They managed to have a compelling series, and we saw that when they are working effectively as a team, and particularly when Nulty's on form and having a good game, they can actually be a considerable side.
Just going back to your question in general about how you think these teams will fare today and why I picked Tricked. I think it's kind of what Max had just said in the interview. They will always come prepared with nothing you can be prepared for. And Nordavind as a team has shown that they like to stay in comfort. They don't necessarily like playing from behind. They like knowing what they're doing. And Tricked is just that team where you don't know anything at all. So at some point, I don't think Tricked themselves know what is going on. But that is also one of the core strengths of that surprise factor that they can bring out.
Yeah, I think it's like a double-edged sword, right? We've seen situations where they've brought out like kind of unique picks that we haven't seen from other teams, like the AP Gragas top, the Kale, and they've fallen flat on their face with those particular picks in certain scenarios, right? So I feel like it's like, oh, I'm really excited for this, but also sometimes Tricked aren't the best at executing on their own plan. So like it's a bit of a double-edged sword in that respect, I think.
I think for me, if I have to hone in on any area, it's got to be the jungle, because I think Soph is often a massive catalyst for the side of Tricked. I think that honestly a lot of the early game plans and even the early game setups rely on him being fed, being ahead, being able to challenge and find the angles. And I think on the other side of the coin, we have Nulty. He really had a good series earlier this week. I want to praise him for that, but it has not always been that way. We have definitely had moments where it's felt like Nulty has been the losing factor for Nordavind. So I think if Nordavind want to win, Nulty needs to have a good series once again.
Yeah, we're into draft now, as you can see. Tricked will be on blue to start off with. Nordavind will be on red. And actually, as Dan mentions, if you're going to take a bit of an aim at someone on Nordavind, I actually think the person with one of the smaller champion pools, a bit more targetable, is Nulty. And they're already starting off Trundle as one of Nulty's very comfortable jungle picks. But I do want to reiterate, we did criticize Nulty in the first series. His first game wasn't great, but then he actually started to have a really big impact. We're going to see the Sona ban, and actually, Gulborg did mention earlier on, I think he's basically said these are the two teams that could bring out Sona Lux. You know, these are the two teams that would, if given the right scenario, go for that. And Shyvana, wow, they are really going for Nulty here.
Yeah, and I think it's fair. Nolty and Shyvana look so good, actually. It was the first game where he looked so lost on the map. Immediately, he gets onto a champion like Shyvana, and he's just there, ready to be that facilitator of his team. One thing I want to pay attention to in the draft is the bot lane for both these teams. I want to see how much they prioritize them, how much they will prioritize the junglers to set them up, and how much they will just prioritize the solo laners, because I don't feel like these are the two teams where solo laners have been playing a massive impact. But Caitlyn will be the first pickup for Archie.
Yeah, and I feel like it makes sense to see Nordavind prioritizing two massive picks in the Sona and the Volibear, and then specifically taking that Azir away from Eren, and that leaves the Caitlyn open, and potentially the Karma could also be a threat to pair up with that. So I feel like you need to be instantly answering out what you're going to do in this bot lane, because if the enemy team has Caitlyn with a great prior support, you're going to have a bad time on this bot side. And often for Nordavind, we see Chrisbig as being that big carry in the later stage of the game. He's such a relevant part of the late game team fighting. If he does get set behind, it is going to hurt your team.
And I couldn't agree more. That's why it's also quite interesting. We see the likes of Ezreal here coming through. You will usually see something way more lane dominant, but I think just going into the Caitlyn, you don't have much answers either way. Now we see kind of two weak-siders coming in here. I say weak-sider because Ezreal does, of course, still spike, but it's usually what you pick just to, you know, put your pressure outside elsewhere on the map when you have an Ezreal and a non in the same one. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, not really too big of a fan of the Ornn being picked up this early, but we did see some rough performances from Mummus. He was prioritizing the gangplank heavily and was actually a vulnerability on that. So I understand if they want him on something comfortable initially, it can make sense, but Tricked just getting exactly the hand they want here, taking the TF as well. So even more pressure potentially going to be applied to bot lane. We've seen huge priority on the Twisted Fate, for example, in the Fnatic Riddle series, because of the impact it can have on the map. And then they finalize with that Set, who obviously provides a strong front line. He can punish the Ornn if he steps too far forward by ulting him, using his own HP against him. And on top of that, a great flex to round out this first rotation. So I think Tricked have started this draft off really well. It's really up to Nordavind to answer that. The bar does mean we're going to see people Bully potentially enabled on the map, though.
But one of the things I'm worried about is this is Eren on Twisted Faith, and the last time we saw Eren on Twisted Faith, he had a lot of issues on where he was in the map. We saw him overextending a lot of the times. We didn't see the best use of the Destiny Gate coming out from the Twisted Faith too. So with this pick coming in, I need to see a better performance from Eren to actually solidify that the Twisted Faith is going to be a good pick.
Well, we'll have to see. I think, like you said, they have the setup for it now. I think with the fact they've got push potential in the bot lane, they have set. There is turret dive potential. If they potentially look towards the Morgana, for instance, they have very heavy shove potential. They could look for turret dives in that scenario, and they could set up around that. But obviously, things like the Bard, especially post 6, can be pretty good at dealing with that as well. So you have to be careful about how you play those particular lanes. It's gonna be a Skarner ban. So I mean, they really are going in on Nulty right now.
Yeah, and I think put him on something uncomfortable, putting on something that doesn't have an easy time sailing through the early game. Things like the Trundle, you can essentially get by and perform that tank role later on. And I feel like you see Nordavind banning away the Thresh and the Morgana. Honestly, I still think there's great options for the side of Tricked. Karma available. Lux available, which we've seen paired up with the Caitlyn. And honestly, the shielding scales so incredibly well, even without the Sona to back it up. I feel like Tricked are in the favorable spot, but really, I am looking towards mid lane because Ericsson has also been a big factor for the side of Nordavind. I want to see what they can pull out there, because right now I feel like they have the strong front line in the Ornn, they have the Ezreal as a safety, the Bard who can roam and make an impact. You need a mid laner who's going to be able to capitalize from that assistance from the team. I want to see a strong rotation here. I think take jungler for Nulty in a scenario, leave counter pick for Ericsson, unless you're happy just taking something like the Orianna, but either way, your mid jungle needs to be able to take over the game.
And if this is going to be the Olaf, we have seen this multiple times on Nulty. The thing is with Olaf and Nulty likes to be aggressive. And if he can be facilitated by laners with pressure, he can do well on this Olaf. But he's not facilitated. Then we have seen him multiple times just run into his own death. So Ericsson needs to get in here with a great counter pick against this Twisted Faith. Now the Karma Harbor does come through, as you mentioned, Orcs, and it would be good for pressure down in the bot side. Can always keep this bot lane push in, and it does make it harder for the likes of Olash to get the priority he wants, especially for counter jungling when your bot laners are pushed in the whole time.
Be interested to see what comes out here in the top side, because I think you have a range of options in this situation. I wouldn't be against something that's just like fairly safe and plays the weak side well, like the Gangplank into the Ornn. Obviously, that set is still a flex available, but ultimately, we know what's going to be play around. We know the bot lane is going to be heavy play around, and actually, this Sion potentially has a play. We've seen it from Rogue and the LEC. You go for a lane swap early. You have a Karma Caitlyn who are great at pushing the wave up and hammering away at the tower. What the Sion does is he invades the enemy jungle, steals away a camp from Nulti, and then you swap back. And typically what happens is the Sion ends up with, 20 CS and an experience lead compared to an Ornn who's really far behind there. And then you play it out from that situation. So I want to look out for Trick using that to capitalize in that top lane. And for the mid lane, we see Ericsson once again on the Silas.
Yeah, and taking a bit of inspiration from Riddle against their game versus Fnatic, we saw that Senkox actually played this Silas into Matthew Felix, Twisted Faith. Obviously, idea is that you can also just steal the Twisted Faith ultimate, still be a viable option on the map, so you got your own Destiny engage, but you can also be a facilitator with the Zed ultimate. You can steal. There's a lot of options coming in with this one, but unlike that, there's not too much pressure in the beginning. Twisted Faith will have a lot of pressure, and I think that's just my worries right now. The Trick Esports have a lot of pressure out on the map in the early game, which can make it harder for Nordavind, but if they can scale, they can be in a good spot too.
Well, this is going to be the first few drafts. I think you guys have given your kind of thoughts on it, but if I was asked for some closing thoughts on who you think will take it based on the draft, are you going to stick with your original predictions, or are you going to sort of take a different approach seeing the drafts here?
Honestly, seeing a draft, I'm actually leaning towards Tricked on this one. I think the Sion, they actually use this off stream to utilize that early lead with the swap potential of it. They have Caitlyn Calm in the bot lane, a lot of priority, a lot of strength. They have Twisted Fate to lean into that. I think they have easy win conditions to play around, and I don't think Nordavind have the best answers so far.
I mean, I'm just gonna go with my guts, right? I'll stick with my prediction. I think I'm fairly confident in it. I like the draft coming out for Tricked. I got no complaints.
Yeah, I think that the draft definitely looks convincing, and whenever I see a sign, I'm always going to vote for a sign, even though I went for Nordavind on the predictions. Looks like we're ready to go into game, though. We're going to have Hitbrain and Trouble guiding us through this series. Guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. Hello and welcome to the caster desk as we're getting ready to go into Series 2. I haven't turned my light on, so I'm a little bit in the dark right now. Feel a bit silly about that. Tricked versus Nordavind. Now, a lot of the analysts and everybody else is very much in the Nordavind camp right now. Me and Gulborg, we are back in Tricked. Let's have a little bit.
They did change their opinion.
Yeah, they did. After seeing the draft,
now.
Have you changed your opinion?
No, I'm sticking with Nordavind, and I'll explain to you why. I feel like I'm not sure who. I think Tricked were playing Fnatic with a Twisted Fate on Aaron and a 2 on the Caitlyn, and they kept on continuously getting caught out in the middle of the rift, and that really cost them the game. And I feel like with Bebop on the Bard, who can instantly punish that, together with Ericsson and Nolty on the Olaf running in, there's a pretty good chance to capitalize on small mistakes that we've seen Tricked repeatedly make.
I think we've seen a lot of good bards in this league. Bebop has been one of the ones that has been very impressive to me, so this is a good pick for him. The ability to kind of set up plays, disengage plays. It does a bit of everything, and Bebop has been one of the players who's utilized it the best. Now, we'll have to see how this is going to go, because the Chew and PlayStation do obviously have a pretty heavy range and shoving advantage early on in this lane, and we're not seeing this Sion swap what Orcs was talking about. I was kind of hoping we were going to see it, because it is really, really effective, but I guess into an Olaf, they're a little scared of getting caught out in the jungle and then the play being completely blown at the beginning of the game.
I don't think it's possible to do it that early, maybe with the Sion. You gotta go maybe for the Dragon first, and then you swap your Caitlyn up top, and then you keep the Sion. That's how I would think of it.
So the way Orcs described it to me, because it's only something I've heard of recently, it's like an old school lane swap. Do you remember like the ones we used to have years ago?
Level 1?
Yeah. So Sion goes into the enemy jungle, steals a buff from them, and then goes bot lane because he has good wave clear.
Steals a buff. Okay, that's very old school.
So that it's like super old school. We don't see it that often, but it is something that has been picked up here and there. But it doesn't look like going to go for that. It is quite risky because it is into the Olaf. And if you go into the wrong side of the jungle and he catches you, you're just going to get blown up because Olaf will just win that. So I understand the thinking in it. But now, And Tricked, you know, they don't actually have to do that lane swap because they do still have the prio in the bot lane. They are just going to shove him pretty heavy here. Should be able to farm up some plates for themselves nice and early. We'll have to track what Nolty's game plan is early here on the Olaf. He has actually been spotted out by Soft as Aaron has the prio in the mid lane.
He hasn't got his blue buff yet, though, and Ericsson is going to have to stick because he has a wave and a half underneath his tower stacking up. His bot lane has been pushed. His Ezreal doesn't have mana, so Nolt is going to have to take the decision here to actually exit his jungle. He might even lose the wolf.
Oh, my lord.
Find it away.
That was close. That was a little bit too close for comfort, and he has no jungle camps left. He's completely full cleared top side. Soft has cleared bot side, and Nolty is going to get a crab, maybe look to try and invade into Soft, but he is not going to match this. Soft is actually able just to completely catapult himself ahead of Nolty right now.
And that's not even just... Oh, Mumus?
Is Mumus going to sell it? No, he's not. Okay, that was close.
He doesn't solo kill Wazer, but the way the wave state is in the top side, it's going to be extremely hard for Wazer to actually crash that wave in. And Mumus can just freeze there all the time and force Soft to come to the top side and escort him in because they know that Olaf will be in the top side of the river. This is where Soft forced him to be by taking his bot quadrant of the jungle. And as you can see, Nolty is playing around there. He wants that gank in the top lane.
Yeah, Wazel just has to sit back and continue to let Nolty fall further and further behind Tricks. Sorry, Soft. I don't know where I got Trick from there. I guess it is the team. Wazel actually is just going to try and stop Nolty from taking this camp. The Soul Furnace burst is actually quite a lot, but now Nolty actually may be able to turn this one around. Does have Flash, and Wazel has to be careful. Flash is under tower, charges at the Decimating Smash, and Aaron's made his way over with that gold card. Instantly gets knocked up, though, by the charge, and Aaron now forced to flash away as Nolty looks to try and tidy up a little bit more onto Aaron. They get the smash up once again. Soft comes over the wall and he finds himself first blood. Ericsson slides in, now looking for Wazel. Gonna pop the zombie form as they chase him down. A double kill for Ericsson, but Tricked are chasing for more. Ericsson will finally fall as Soft actually might not be able to do it. The Kingsglare, Ericsson finds a triple kill, and the teleports are coming in, but it's a little bit too little. It's a little bit too late. Wazel may find Ericsson now as they come in with the gold card, they come in with the tidy up, and Aaron cashes in on the shutdown.
Ooh, 600 gold is extremely juicy right there for the Twisted Fate. But nevertheless, this is 3 kills onto the Silas. He's going to be an absolute beast. He went back and bought the Lost Chapter, which means it's going to be highly unlikely that you're going to be able to push him out of lane. And Wazer in the top lane without any summoners could be in a lot of trouble here.
It is non-stop action. Tries to go for the recall. Mumus and Nolty will just find him. He's going to go for the alcove play, but I don't think you're going to find it. Can't find the Decimating Smash. Mumus will just hunt him down, finds himself the knock-up, and Wazel unable to go anywhere. Nolty's able to secure the kill.
I just think his alcove gaming is not very strong, Hiprain.
I don't think Scion without any supplement spells is that good in the alcove. Soft actually finds Bebop. They actually use the Destiny to chase him down. He has the Cosmic Binding, but the gold card, the Flash, do come through. Bebop able to disengage, but he has to use a fair amount there to get away.
You have to remember here, what Crispec has been continuously saying is that in all of their scrims, they're trying to dive him over and over again, put him behind. And right here, they have put him behind, but then again, he's on an Ezreal, he spikes much earlier, and he can make plays even from behind. Right here, I think this is what we were talking about before we got into this game. I'm like, Hiprain, you're gonna be extremely entertained as a play-by-play into this game, because we know that these two teams never stop fighting, especially when Ericsson is on a pick like an Assassin or on a pick like Silas. Here, he's obviously playing Assassin Silas, getting the triple kill, and going back to his lane ahead.
By the way, Soft hasn't picked his red buff up yet. He's only just made his way over to that camp. His blue buff has respawned in that time, and I think Nolty's just going to be able to steal it away. Like, Soft did not really use the pressure he had early to pull ahead of Nolty, and Nolty happily equal in CS to him now. So they're just going to get this blue buff gifted over onto Ericsson. Aaron, they're going to have to invade to get a blue buff for him. He is a TF, so he does obviously have the blue card to sustain some mana for himself, but overall, Soft, with that kind of mad skirmish we had in the top lane, hasn't been able to pull ahead of Nolty too far.
I think that the problem with the Olaf is that whenever you find him, even when he's into your jungle and he's low HP, you can't necessarily take the trade with him. You saw Wazer trying, you saw 3 people running onto the Olaf, and he's just healing so much the lower he is. He's sustaining, the damage he does, everything just goes up the lower he is in HP, and this is how Ericsson ends up trading all of them and taking all of them down. And Sov had the upper hand. I'm with you completely. They know exactly where the Olaf was and they were able to punish, but not anymore because the tables have turned. The Twisted Fate no longer has an easy lane.
Oh, Chris Bergen snipes him! What happened?
How did he go through?
I need to see that again. I actually need a replay of that.
We need a slow-mo replay. How did he go through?
Might have to hold that replay, though, because it looks like a potential invader's coming in. Tricked making their way up into the jungle. They found Nulti out. Soft
He's level 6.
goes in and steals it away. That's going to be the Ragnarok pop by Nulti as they just chase him in with a suplex and PlayStation's able to secure the kill. Chrisberg now has been cut off as Aaron finds out Ericsson, but Ericsson able to turn it back around with a chain lash and a lot of sustain from the Kingslayer. And this fight is on multiple fronts. Nordavind actually just routing Tricked out as the true shot's enough to secure the kill. Chrisberg finds it. Ericsson jumps in with a Destiny he's stolen as the second Destiny comes through, and Aaron is there to make sure Chu survives. Very, very messy stuff.
All I'm gonna say is that we have 10 kills and we're not even 10 minutes into the game. We're above a kill per minute. This is exactly what we were expecting from these two teams. And the thing here is, we specifically highlighted the fact that Eren is on that Twisted Fate that was repeatedly caught previously, and Ericsson is on an assassin type of champion. Now let's see this replay again. She starts charging it. What?
What? Wait, what was that?
What?
I am very confused, but we are actually out looking at a skirmish on our screens as Nulti has found himself caught out. As in comes the Call of the Forge God by Mummus. He's just going to get sent packing as Ericsson now tethered up. Tempered Fate lands onto just Soft. Nordavind actually are just going to be forced away from this Rift Herald.
Yeah, they keep running into very unfavorable fights. You know that Tricked is actually resetting first. They've got the timer, so you got to respect the numbers advantage that they've got onto that river. They don't. They lose their smite, and then they're given a Rift Herald. On the other hand, I think Crispec will take that. Crispec is more than happy to sit all alone in that bot lane and try to take plates because he's been completely deprived of farm and gold. And mind you, he spikes much faster than the Caitlyn. So by the time he has his Mana Moon and the Trinity Force or Gauntlet, whichever one he chooses to go for, he will be stronger than the Caitlyn.
However, look at the CS leader Chu's got. He's been able to get a lot of plates in the bot lane. That's 4 plates he's picked up. He's got another 2 here topside. His jungle is going for a fight versus Mummus, and Nulti is the ace in the hole's just going to tidy up a kill for Chu. He's still farming plates while he's farming kills. Mummus has to be careful as he is looking for PlayStation, but there are a lot of members about, including Aaron with a gold card charged up. Aaron does find out Ericsson. They throw down the Rift Herald, and Chu is going to try and take him out as the charge will go down. The tower is picked up, and Tricked walk away happy with that one. I do want to give you a quick update on what happened on that play underneath the tower. Our replay guy just gave us a little bit of an update. It was a trap is how Bebop went down. There was a trap placed down. It kind of went down in the middle of the carnage, and it kind of got lost in translation. But that's what that was. It wasn't like a second ultimate went off.
Oh yeah, it was a critical strike. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense now.
But if we could quickly toggle the gold, you were talking about how Chrisberg has a cheaper item spike. Agreed. But if we have a look at the individual gold of the members, I am assuming Chu is pretty far up over Chrisberg right now. He has had so much gold injected into him. He is 1,500 gold over Chrisberg right now. Just gone to base. I'm assuming finished up his Infinity Edge.
He did.
Yeah. So at this point, you know, sure, the Ezreal has a cheaper first item, but Chu is matching him on items, and he's ahead in gold right now.
Good thing for Nordavind is that they were able to get into the pit first, but Sof,
they're coming in with the onslaught. They're looking for Ericsson. Ericsson's stolen away the suplex, and he may just slam them into the team. Wazel low HP. It's the Trusha Barrage cuts through everyone. Massive Tempered Fate comes through, and now it's Ericsson with the rest of his team stepping up. Wazel's going to try and zone him away for the moment as a headshot will land by a tube. That's going to force him to use the Zhonya's. Destiny's been thrown down, and Ericsson is just going to be able to interrupt that onto Aaron as Mumus being chased down. It's only Achu, it's only PlayStation. The health bars on the Nordavind members are low, but Achu's just going to be CC'd for days and bursted down. Ericsson just putting on an absolutely supreme display right now as Tricked just wiped off the face of the map. They lose the Dragon. They lose all of their members. And Ericsson is the one cashing in.
This was so beautifully played by Ericsson. He kept everyone in check. Bebop Bully's ult was, it was so sweet. And then Ericsson was playing a completely transparent wall between all the carries of Tricked and the rest of the team. So you see Wazer slamming himself in there, but he's so isolated at the back, and Ericsson's like, no, you came in, you go straight back out. Bebop gets the carries in the ultimate, and look at Ericsson's position. Achu cannot play. He can't hit anyone because of Ericsson's positioning right there. It was so crucial to keep Achu away of this fight due to the spike of his Infinity Edge as well. He would hurt so much, and Ericsson managed to keep him out of the entirety of this fight just by being there. That was so well played by the Nordavind mid laner.
But just look how many plates Achu is still farming up. He should be able to get this last one just before it falls off. He actually won't as the wave is thinned out in time, but Achu has so much gold. Even with CRISPR getting a kill in that fight and a fair few assists, Achu is still incredibly relevant. They've injected so much money into this Caitlyn. And as the plates do fall off, this should just be a tower going down.
Yeah, they don't have the members around. You see Ericsson is all the way up the top, Ornn is all the way down the bottom, so they're not necessarily going to be contesting that. But you've got to remember, that was exactly the style that Tricked had versus Fnatic. They played the Caitlyn Karma. They went from lane to lane to lane. They took every single tower. They took almost every single plate on the game versus Fnatic. I think they took everything but one plate on that game. And then when it came for the time to start pushing the lanes, it was their two carries, Achu and Aaron, mispositioning themselves. So I want to peel your eyes onto Achu and Aaron for the remainder of this game, especially now that every single tier 1 for Nordavind is down. I want to see how they're going to handle this game, where their vision lies, and how they're going to play around it.
Nolte hasn't had a blue buff all game. I mean, I don't think it really matters too much to him, but it is just a nice little point. He's been denied a lot of buffs. There's Trick's actually looking to try and hunt down a couple of members here. Nolte has to be careful as the Destiny's actually being used. They are looking to go on the hunt. Ericsson comes in. So he's just going to have to run away. The onslaught is going to land as Achu does find himself caught out by the Tempered Fate, instantly knocked up by the Ram as CRISPR onto that flank. Achu just free-firing away. The True Shot Barrage cuts through a couple of members, but there are a lot of traps for CRISPR has to navigate to get to his team, and nobody's going to fall. A lot was used there.
And initially, that was them trying to catch Ericsson. He has a really fast shutdown on him as well, a really big bounty, and everyone would like to cash in. And if you try to get Ericsson out of the fight, who is the biggest threat for Trick right now, you can actually navigate yourself through the jungle of Nordavind and try to get as much vision as possible to try and push these lanes through. Remember, this is still that mid game where Trick faltered with the exact same composition. So vision is extremely crucial for them, and they have to play around it. That bot river is actually completely dark for them if you exclude that one pink ward, which I'm pretty sure Bieber was going to clean really shortly.
Yeah, we actually could have a quick toggle of the vision, we'll see, but the EV team has complete dominance of the river around the Dragon Pit. Riftail's getting started up by Trick, so, you know, they're quite happy just making sure they have control of this area. But that towards the Dragon, as you can see, there is very little vision for them to work with. Are slowly making their way forward, Wazor helming the charge. Riftail's already been picked up for Trick. 10 seconds until the Ocean Drake spawns, and Trick are able to get their way into the river and get set up for this. The traps are going down by Achu, which will work to zone them away. Nolte obviously does have that Ragnarok. to be able to keep Nordavind at arm's
Respect
length.
is on this fight. I don't think they're gonna take it. It's just the second dragon anyway for each team. Ericsson might fancy a fight, but look at the trap in this bush.
Okay, Dragon's been picked up. Tempered Fate's been thrown down. A Chew caught out instantly and blown up as Nolty's able to find the kill. Ericsson on the flank looking for PlayStation. Caught out by the Tether. Soft on the run though, as Mumus will land the knock up and take him down. Nolty looking to chase for a little bit more, but Soft actually able to hold his life at the moment. PlayStation being chased and he has been pincered on all fronts. The decimating smash goes wide. Chris Berg has got the mana to work with as the presence of Mind Stacks are just cashing in. And Tricked are just routed. They get the dragon, but they lose 3.
I don't know what Nordavind can get in return. Maybe they can get Aaron here, and that will be kind of huge because they have a wave stacking in the bot lane and they could push. But now they get the dragon, they get the members of Trick down, and they can actually pressure 2 lanes at once. That mid lane tower is extremely important for them. It will completely open the map free for Nordavind. And as you can see, the Nordavind members are much more slippery than the Trick members are. So they can't play without towers behind them. The positioning of Ericsson is extremely crucial here. He's forcing Tricked into a choke point because Nordavind is coming from both sides and Trick is forced to make a decision as in where they want to go. PlayStation is like, okay, I'll be the sheep. I'm going to give sacrifice for my team. But as you can see, the rest members couldn't actually run away and Soft ends up going down as well.
This is the key thing you kind of noted on for Tricked. Versus Fnatic, it was a Chew and Aaron's mispositioning, which did cost them their lives quite a lot in that series. And Chew, once again, getting caught out. Only ones that actually get trapped in that Tempered Fate. Blown up the second the stasis wore off, as they're actually going to use the Tempered Fate to stop the charge. That was really, really nice there. And now, the Rift Herald just kind of mitigated. There's not really too much they can get.
Look at the gold, Hiprain. It has actually turned into Nordavind's favor. And when this graph is down, you'll see something that we talked about from the start as well. You will see that Chrisberg has 2 items. He's completed the gauntlet and he also has his Mura mana available, while Achu is sitting on just Infinity Edge and a couple more components. Doesn't have his Zeal item, it doesn't have his Storm Razor yet, which means that Chrisberg is indeed much stronger, so is Ericsson.
Ericsson's just able to look from PlayStation being zoned out from the rest of the team. Lots of Qs are connecting, dodging around those True Shot barrages, but that is not going to be enough. Easy pickings there onto the support, and PlayStation not having a particularly great series right now. 1 and 4 on the Karma, getting caught out quite a lot. And Chrisberg, you literally just highlighted how much damage he was going to be able to do once he hits that 2-item spike. He has hit that spike, and now Mumus is coming in with the Call of the Forge God. Achu's able to flash away for the moment. They do place the traps down, trying to cut them off the Soft. Uses the Haymaker shield to keep himself alive, and Wazor has got the ultimate. He is hunting for Chrisberg, but decides not to overstep. Ace in the Hole's going to connect onto Chrisberg, and Nordavind get the tower and step away.
And you see how Chrisberg has opted to go for the gauntlet here. He wants to stay alive as much as possible. He wants when Atu hits him with these long range hits that it doesn't do that much damage to him. Plus, when Aaron wants to sleeve and slalom himself around the fight together with Soft, they're going to be consistently getting slowed by those gauntlet passive going down on them. This is a great display of skill from Nordavind. Something's going wrong in the early game, but they're taking the upper hand, and their 2 carries, Ericsson and Chrisberg, are playing out of their minds right now.
Ericsson had so much gold injected into him from that top gut dive at the beginning of the game. That was where it went so wrong for Tricked. It was Ericsson cashing in on 3 kills at the beginning of the game, and from then on, Aaron hasn't been able to contain him. Aaron is now struggling versus him. And Achu, he's in that Caitlyn Power Trough. Obviously, when you go the Storm Razor build, it does negate that Power Trough somewhat, but this isn't like Chrisberg, who is hard spiking right now, those 2 items, and now looking to get towards his 3rd. Achu needs a bit more time before he kind of hits that late game Caitlyn, starts to take over. The one thing Tricked can bank on is they've picked up 2 dragons already, so they can afford to give over 2 more dragons to Nordavind and kind of lose that 10 minutes there. But it looks like actually they may just look to try and go in for a fight. Achu dodging away on the Tempered Fate, is able to dodge it out as Mumus actually finds PlayStation. PlayStation once again getting caught off on his own, and he'll be taken down. This will be easy pickings as the Axel comes in for the slow, and Bebop cashes in on the kill.
Hey, I mean, he was the one that got them there. He deserved one for him as well. I feel like Tricked are falling again into their own traps. They're mispositioning. They tried to trap Nordavind, but Nordavind is in the end the one that trapped them. And it looks like to be the same here. You know, they're trying to get a little bit of vision into that river, trying to stack their dragons because it's really important. If Tricked managed to get this Drake, that would be the third one.
Aaron's dead. He has the red card as well. He has nothing to work with. Ericsson steals away the destinies. Aaron actually pieces out, but Ericsson has his own destiny, so if he wants to hunt him down, he can do so. He's actually just going to look to jump onto a Chu. Soft planks out this chain lash for the moment. A Chu firing away for the moment. They go for the suplex back. The shield is on, but they are just going to run down a Chu. Mumus throws out the call of the Forge God, and Nordavind redirect it into Baron and start it up.
Oh, that was huge. Do you see the patience it takes from Ericsson to not actually use the TF ult to go and hunt Eren? Because he knew the bigger picture there is if they get Soft out of it, they don't have Smite on the side of Tricked, and they can do Baron. And that's exactly what they did. Ericsson has put on his big man carry pants, and he zipped them up as well, Heatbrain. This is serious stuff here.
He's looking very scary. Aaron's just trying to split push now. He's realized team fighting is just an absolute no-go for a very, very long time. As the onslaught comes down, they're racing.
Wazer is faster. Okay. Fast and furious as well. Let's go. Ericsson's playing with no fear, in all honesty. I had a talk with the Nordavind staff, and I'm like, what changed in the previous best of 3 they played with Monster from game 1 to game 2? And the answer that I got is that, you know what? It could be our last game. They stopped caring. They stopped caring about losing, and they played their hearts out as if it was the last game, because it could potentially have been their last game. And it shows that they've carried this philosophy through to this best of 3. It's not necessarily Trick playing absolutely horrible. It's just Nordavind finding their spikes, finding their way through the rift, and capitalizing on little openings that they find from Trick.
Oh, no. Chu has no flash. Soft's going to try and tank stuff for him, and Chu's actually able to bail out. Ericsson does steal away the showstopper. Eren is split pushing away topside, and someone needs to go deal with that, and it looks like Ericsson's going to be the man to do so. So Eren just does go for a step back. Mumma's pushing up in the bot lane, and these Baron minions are starting to be a little bit of a nuisance for Tricked, but they are still answering. They are doing something to deal with Nordavind here. So Mummus has to be a little bit careful. He's actually getting chased onto. He's able to use a steering charge to put some distance between him and the Tricked members.
He's not dying today, Heatbrain. He's not dying today. The man has got 0 deaths.
He's actually handing out the ornaments as well now. So you've got the Iceborne Gauntlet, the Frozen Fist handed out to Chrisberg. Mummus might actually just look for a kill. I don't think either of these top laners actually have any kill pressure on each other. It's just a wave clearing simulator with a little bit of poke here and there. Eren joins up with the rest of the team, is able to catch the wave momentarily, but these waves are slowly but surely being cut through. So these towers are slowly but surely being chipped away. Baron on to Nordavind for a little bit longer. So they will be able to take down this tier 2 in the top lane. Eren's going to move over to try and clear out the wave, but will struggle to do so.
And it's really dangerous, right? When you walk up to Ericsson being so fed, you're also going to be careful to get dived. They're putting their eyes down to Mummus, but you see that the midlane's being pushed as well.
That's the tempered fate they needed. Chu has to flash away. The Call of the Forge God will land in, but Wazel jumps into the team. Gold card connects in as Ericsson has to go golden. He's getting traps on top of him. Caught underneath the tower. Ericsson's able to go down, and the shutdown is picked up for PlayStation. As Tricked now turn this on his head. The Destiny's getting used, and Tricked are hunting for more. A magical journey delivers the 2F into the waiting jaws of Nordavind. He has to use the stopwatch as Wazel misses the decimating smash. Another gold card gets used, and the shutdown's already been picked up on Wazel. Mummus has to flash over the wall. The gold card charged up by Tricked as they find themselves 3 kills.
That was huge by Tricked, and even though we've been praising Ericsson for his patience, I think I'm cursing everyone here, Heatbrain, because I'm like, this guy is just so patient. He dived under tower into 5 people. This is impossible to do unless you're that far ahead that no one can actually kill you. Guess what? Sure, Momus gets a great knock-up onto everyone, but you're trying to kill the Scion right there. It's not that easy when your team cannot follow up due to the traps. Ericsson goes down. Then there was a great Twisted Fate ultimate to try and find Crispec, who was absolutely out of mana and couldn't put down any more damage than he did. And then Trick casting on 3, and they cashed in on their bounties. That was a big fat chunk of money that they put back into their inventories, and the gold is almost dead even again.
The teams are now posturing around this Ocean Drake. They want to get it. 3 items onto a Chew. Chrisberg looking to land a little bit of poke. Look for Ericsson. He's stolen away the ultimate. Once again, a Chew is the one on the receiving end of all of the CC. And they actually are able to stun up Momus momentarily. Ericsson looks to jump in, throws the suplex down as Ericsson just got his target. He's looking for a Chew, but a Chew has the shields, has the survivability to work with. Soft's able to take down Nulty. Ericsson now has to run away. Massive Kingslayer heal, but it's not going to be enough as the Chew cashes in on another kill. They're landing everything they need onto the damage, onto the front line. Slowly but surely, Tricked move forward, take out another 3, and in comes the Destiny. Aaron will get jumped onto, but he is going to look to turn it around as PlayStation lands the tether. One more haymaker and PlayStation cashes in on the kill. Tricked find 4.
Oh, and again, they try to force. They try to force because they know if they let this dragon go, Tricked will be on soul point. And if they manage to win this fight, they will be on soul point. It was a fight for a beauty. And that beauty was that ocean dragon that went to Tricked. And now they are on soul point. And this is an ocean dragon. That means that all the poke that's coming out from the Ezreal is going to get instantly healed up if Tricked manages to take this. And then all of this power that Nordavind had in their hands is suddenly gone because the Caitlyn has come online. Atu gets caught again, but where he gets caught, no one can actually follow up. Crispec is not necessarily able to do any damage there. And you see that Ericsson and the Nulty are trying to find Atu in the backline, but the shields and heals are massive coming in for PlayStation's Karma, keeping Atu alive. And remember, we said whoever manages to get Atu will probably benefit that team. And I'm saying whoever gets to manage to kill Atu, because sometimes we see Atu killing himself by, you know, walking a little bit too far. But this time he managed to stay alive, which means that Trick win the fight.
Really, really big couple of wins for Trick. 2 fights in a row going heavily in their favor. Atu now got that Zeal, so 100% crit chance for him. Those traps are going to hurt. Got a stopwatch to work with, and he's actually teleporting in as Trick are setting up to deal with this Baron.
We have to see in the inventory, you see that both of these teams have a bunch of pink wards available to them. They've set Ericsson onto that bot side because they know that this is the tower that's the lowest. So they're trying to threaten an inhibitor tower, potentially an inhibitor, in trade for that Baron. But what Trick should look to do here is try and pull the teleport from Momus and Ericsson, because if they do, then they're going to have to force them into the same lane as everyone, and then it's going to be Trick's time to be able to play them up. You see how they are the first ones, push the lane in the middle, push the lane in the top lane, and then try to go towards that Baron, force Nordavind into a fight. Lucky for them, they're all there. They don't have to pull any teleports.
Look at the line of traps as well. Nordavind have to walk through all of those traps. They have to go for a flank, but actually it looks like the answer out here for Nordavind is just to try and push the mid lane, try and maybe trade out for inhibitor like you said. They are just going to force it, although Trick's answer is to start up the Baron. Aaron doesn't have the Destiny available, but there is one on Ericsson. Atu and PlayStation get caught out. The Call of the Forge God comes down. This time Atu is able to dodge it away with his own stopwatch. Flashes out. He gets blast coned into the team. This is the end of Atu. Oh, it was so shoddy. And as Aaron goes down as well, Wazor on the run, and Nordavind, they may just have found their game-winning team fight.
This could be the game. You see Momus is straight away TPing in. They've got a whole wave coming. Nordavind. There is no wave clear on the side of Trick. So I think that Nordavind managed to find a 2. And we said, if you kill the Caitlyn, you win the fight, you take the game, and Nordavind just want it all.
Yeah, they're going to suplex Ericsson back. Soft does throw a haymaker shield out to keep himself alive, but tower number 1 has gone down. Tower number 2 will be quick to follow. Nordavind go 1-0 up in the series.
Whew. And what a series. I think Efrain, you really like these sort of games where I barely have any time to talk, because we literally had 37 kills going back and forth between these two teams. And I just couldn't be happier with both of these teams' performances. I think they've actually both gone in. They really want to win. They're really playing their own play styles, and I like that. But I think the same things are still haunting Trick. You know, Atu out of positioning in a lot of these fights. You are the hyper carry. You have to be in the great position, because everything relies on you.
Yeah.
And every time Atu was going down, it was 100% win for Nordavind. And right there, death time is too long. Unlucky.
I do want to highlight, first of all, Bebop Bully, his ultimates were incredible. I think pretty much all of them landed onto a shoe every time.
Yeah.
The last few, they were able to bail him out. And that time, it was a really clutch stopwatch by Achu to survive all of the incoming CC as soon as the stasis wore off. But the problem was he flashed onto the blast cone and soft autoed the blast cone, throwing his AD carry into the middle of the team. At that point,
has done it as well. Trick have something with blast cones, because I remember a Baron where Trick sneak a Baron, then they get out of the pit, and Aaron hits the blast cone to go over to Golems and completely dooms the rest of his team back into the pit.
Don't touch blast cones. Tricked. Just avoid blast cones.
Yeah,
you gotta stop it. It's not working out. Now, guys, we do have a best of 3. We still have more to go. So we're gonna cut to a quick break. And when we're back, we'll have the analyst test to break that game down. So we will see you in a second.
Welcome back, everybody. We just saw Tricked get beaten out by Nordavind there in that first game of the series. And Nordavind honestly looked pretty good from start to finish. And honestly, I think really the driving force behind it was Ericsson and Silas. Like, he was a monster this game.
And I think it just really shows how good of a pick Silas can be into the Twisted Faith. Every time that this Twisted Faith should have had the upper hand influencing the map, Ericsson was there immediately and there to capitalize. And the fact that he got so much gold in the beginning just made that his healing in team fights with the men's, they hadn't even gotten any grievous wounds items, and that just makes matters even worse. Then they kind of faced the point where the game became hard to play, and it looked like Trick was going to take the upper hand and just take out the game, but then one little blast cone kind of sealed Trick's fate there.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I feel like even though Trick managed to sort of come back in on the later game win conditions, I feel like they missed the mark with the early game. I feel like potentially they didn't go for the opportunity to go for the swap with the Scion. They ended up trying to play defensively around top side, and a great roam from Ericsson gave him a lead there. And realistically, as much as they got a CS lead on the back of that Caitlyn, they managed to take some towers. They didn't manage to keep the momentum going, and Ericsson just had an absolute outright huge performance, just completely outclassed Eren. And it meant that even though they drafted in a way that potentially gave them a lot of win conditions, they really had to rely on the late game one, and then all it took was one lost team fight, and suddenly it was just Nordavind able to end. I feel like the plan was good, the concept was good, but I feel like Trick's execution was so off this game.
Well, let's have a look at the Blast Cone incident. I believe that's the moment that Orcs has picked, so we're going to take a look at that as the play of the game. Orcs, you can run us through it.
Yeah, so essentially, I mean, the main goal for the side of Tricked is you want to be able to protect your backline. You want your Caitlyn to stay alive and benefit from the shielding and the buffs available to this Karma. We see a situation where Ericsson grabs the Destiny so he can try and find some backline access in this situation, prevent another angle. It's a good tempered fade, and then a stopwatch from Machu keeps him in stasis, but then he flashes and blast cones, and he just jumps himself in the middle of the team. Yes, it's a small error, you know, it's one misclick that cost him that fight in the game, but you can't let that happen. And I think the thing I want to highlight here is, as much as this looks like an oopsie daisies, it happens once, it won't happen again. Achu's positioning was really off this series so far, and we've seen it for the past couple of weeks. He just hasn't been able to find his place in team fights, and this was not an isolated incident. This was an example of the sort of worst case scenario, but this has been happening too often. And I think when you're drafting a composition where your bot lane Caitlyn is your win condition, is your main priority to play around, you can't be dropping in fights like that, because he was out with that flash. He was completely out, and he played himself.
I feel like a lot of the times, well, Orcs is right, and that's just how it is. That's the harsh reality. You gotta move on to the next game and say, sucks, bros, but it happened. We hit that blast cone. And honestly, in some of these micros, that was actually defining for fights throughout the whole game. A lot of it just came down to execution. Both comps kind of wanted the same. The one comp wanted to kite, the other comp wanted to ride straight into you. So there was just the same scenarios where it came down to micro, and who could play out to the win condition the best.
Yeah, and I think Orcs quite rightly mentions that, you know, some of these micro decisions can really impact how your game plays out. We literally just saw it with Voxnay in the previous series on the same pick. You know, a single mistake at that stage in the game can sometimes cost you the entire game. However, we are only one game into this best of three. So, you know, we still have 2 more games to go. I want to reiterate, you will lose here, you're out of the tournament. The winner will go on to face Riddle in the final elimination match, or I guess the titled elimination match. Every time you lose in the lower bracket, you're out of the tournament. But realistically, you'll go on to face Riddle in the next best of 3, moving up the bracket stages. I want to quickly ask, you know, we've got a bit of time before the next draft comes our way. What would you like to see Trick do instead of the way that they drafted this game? What would you like to see them do instead to try and attack Nordavind and find a better result?
I didn't have any issues with the draft. Honestly, I think the draft was fine. I think a lot of it comes down to the way they play out. I think they missed, as Orc said, a lot of the marks in the early game, especially on a Twisted Faith. I didn't feel the impact I had felt when I watched Magic Felix and Senkirks play Twisted Faith when I saw Eren place it. I often just seems like he's lost on the pick, and I'm worried for him because he's been looking so good in the first half of the split, but up until playoffs, he just haven't hit the mark.
Yeah, I actually feel that. I do. I really do. I think one of the blinding things about Tricked is when Eren and Vaisor even came on to the NLC, you had the Azir top. They'll pop off plays. Like these guys were like almost like, I think people were saying Eren contender for best mid laner in the tournament, and he just hasn't quite found that groove again. Hasn't quite found his mojo. Now this is the game where he's going to have to, because if they lose here, they're out of the tournament, and Nordavind will sail through to face Riddle. After the break, we have our second draft on the way, so we'll see you there.
Up, we're nearly in sync, but not in step just yet. When you time that look, you know this can't be second best. It's all in the timing. There's not a right way or a wrong way. It's just a short way or the long way. Get there together in our own way. Just the short way or the long way. Get there together in our own way.
Second draft underway already, and you can see Tricked on blue side, Nordavind on red. Nothing changing in terms of side selection. So Tricked, having lost that previous game, do get that side selection. Have chosen to go for blue once more, and they believe that the Nulty strategy is something they want to commit to here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Shyvana ban following again.
Yeah, I mean, they can change the draft slightly if they feel like there's anything they couldn't really execute around or on. But ultimately, as me and Global both said, the draft was fine. I don't think that was the issue. It was really down to the execution. And if they are going to go for something similar here, I want to see more proactivity in the early game, play more heavily around your Caitlyn. Don't give Ericsson so many opportunities to challenge you, and then continue that momentum onwards, because ultimately, too many mistakes from Tricked made that game far too difficult.
And I think most of the time that we will see something deviate from this draft, it will actually be to the second ban phase, rather where people think that they want to go with some different bans instead. But just going on ahead here, these are the exact same bans we've seen, and Nordavind would complete all these bans by banning a Seer now, and then we have the complete same draft from first game too. It's actually going to be the Caitlyn stuff.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with the potential push lane of the Caitlyn Karma or Caitlyn Morgana. They did ban Morgana previously, but set first pick comes through for Tricked.
And that doesn't mean that Azir is open and available. We could potentially see Nordavind prioritize that one, although, you know, I feel like it's more of an Aaron pick specifically, but Ezreal definitely, I think, with Caitlyn off the table even more so, I want to see picked up for Crispig. And something we often see is Ezreal and Azir paired up in tandem just because of how strong that is as a backline threat. So if you were going to deny that Azir away from Aaron, now is the opportunity to do so on this second pick on your side.
I wonder if you're just going to go for that Azir then, or you want to say, okay, let's take the Karma with the Ezreal to actually optimize in for some, some more flexibility and at the same time more pressure down in the bot lane, because although Bard had some nice tempered faith, it didn't offer much in the early phase, but they just go with the same on pick here again. This does leave open the likes of Kai'Sa that we have seen Archer default to into the same matchup here, but as we have mentioned, the Azir is up and available, and it's time for Trick to decide what they want to prioritize here. Is it going to be Aaron on his signature pick, or is it going to be a bot lane with a nice support you need secured before second ban phase comes through?
This is going to be completely off topic, but I saw Nulty hover, Tryndamere, Jax, and I think it was another top lane pick. No, it was after that.
Darius.
I felt like
Darius.
I feel like he was giving a little shout out to Kerberos, who was actually playing in the Prime League earlier, bless him. But anyway, we'll see. It's going to be a soft lock-in of the Kha'Zix already. And Dan, I saw you shake your head at the early Ornn rotation here. How do you feel about that? Is it something that you're particularly happy about, or?
I'm not a massive fan, in all honesty. I feel like I know you want to play a weak sider for Mummus, but like opting into this Ornn this early, it really isn't a massive appeal, because I think essentially you're limiting a lot of your options. It's not a flex pick. People aren't really playing a mid or bot lane anymore, and I don't like it this early in the rotation. I think there's other things that you could prioritize more. I think the only one thing positive I can say about it is it means you're not showing too many cards in the early rotation. But for the other side, we see another roaming pick coming out, but this time it is the Galio, which honestly, a lot of AoE/CC might cause some issues for Ericsson if he does try and fight those skirmishes. I think there is strictly more skirmishing power from the Galio on top of that roaming, although obviously it doesn't scale quite as well as the Twisted Fate, but it allows you to play around Soft here, who now has that Kha'Zix. We're going to the second rotation of bans. Again, we can see Nulty punished by those, and I think Soft is potentially put himself in a position where he is going to be the carry this game.
Yeah, especially because a lot of Archie's champions are just going to be banned out here. So if there's issue going with another AD carry into the Ezreal, well, your champion pool is going to be even more limited now. I think one of the reasons why they blind pick on like this is because they don't feel like Wazer is actually going to punish it. And I think they can be right going after what we just saw. The Sion pick, even though it was a tank versus tank matchup, Wazer was struggling in that matchup, and it was easy for the rest of Nordavind to come up and pick him up. So maybe that's why they're just going for that default. And maybe we're just going to be seeing the set top lane this time, because we already have the jungle, we already have the mid laner, only Flay Station is left, and going set into double range is not that beneficial.
I'm interested to see if we potentially see a mage pick coming back out of a tube, because last split he was one of the bigger mage players in the bot lane compared to all the other teams. And I feel like in a situation here, you've got the Kha'Zix as your AD threat. You've also got a Set as an AD threat. Playing a mage gives you a lot of wave priority against an Ezreal that, you know, without the Ashe or the Caitlyn is a bit more limited compared to what it would be with those picks enabled. So I think potentially we could see something like that coming out here. All depends really what a Chu wants to lean on. And I was thinking potentially Sejuani could come out from Nulty, especially if, Ericsson was to go in a similar direction with something like the Silas. It does have a bit of vulnerability to the Kazakhs, but great CC. And then, I mean, this is similar, honestly, to the way Riddle played in their first match against XL, where they felt your lane is too passive in the bot lane. We are going to pick Lulu and Vayne, and we are just going to scale up. And ultimately, when I look at what Nordavind has picked, it's a low-pressure bot lane, and it's 2 mega tanks. This Vayne Lulu is perfect into that.
Well, we'll see what Nordavind round there. Oh, it's a Lucian. Interesting that they don't really have much AP damage. I mean, there's a little bit coming through from the Sejuani and then Ornn, but that's going to drop off a cliff eventually, and it's really going to be very AD heavy. Talk to me. I just get the impression that this is a comp that kind of needs to take control early on, and I feel like if you get too far behind, you might struggle. Quickly talk to me about that, because that's probably the most interesting pick that we've seen so far.
I mean, for me, I feel like Lucian has to pop off, and I'm emphasizing that so much. It's a very short-range composition. You have 2 carries in this composition. They are both AD. You fall behind, you're going to have lots of armor itemized. It doesn't even need to be like a full tank Kha'Zix or something ridiculous. Even just things like the Ninja Tabi is going to make your life harder, and you have the super scaling of the Vayne Lulu. There is not much space for you to navigate around this with Nordavind. Ericsson, even more than last game, needs to absolutely pop off.
And I think, I mean, you can go for the argument that Ezreal does have a build pattern where you will go into the AB kind of style. But other than that, the Vayne into the likes of Sejuani and on is just really freelo when you play against an Ezreal. So it's just that free scaling for you. I think that going for what they wanted to with the Vayne Lulu, the Kha'Zix is a bit mismatched. Maybe you could have put in a bit more frontline with it. But other than that, I'm quite satisfied with what we're seeing again from Tricked. But I mean, I'm used to being satisfied with what they show in draft. It's more like when we get in game, I'm not really that satisfied. So I kind of want Tricked to really show me one last time, because it is all or nothing that they can deliver on the Rift.
Yeah, all or nothing. If they lose here, they're out. If they win, we'll go to a 3rd game in the series. And I don't think Ericsson was lying to Trouble when he said he had some spicy picks for this series. Definitely very entertained so far. Trouble, I wonder if you feel the same.
Thank you very much, Excandrel. Hello, welcome back to the caster desk as we get ready to go into game number 2. Trick versus Nordavind. And I mean, bit of a spicy one coming out. We got the Vayne in the bot lane with the Lulu. You got that hyper carry. As long as the choose positioning isn't, punished and he can actually really get going, he is going to be a real threat. But for now, the mid lane, I feel like Aaron's going to get bullied pretty heavy here.
I think this is the point, right? When you pick the Lucian, Dan hit on it as well. You have to snowball the Lucian so hard that you actually start building a lead that cannot be closed. Because by the time you're in the late game, the Kha'Zixes, the Sets, the Gallios, and the Vayne, most importantly, are gonna scale out of this world and completely swallow you whole. I think this is one of the sort of compositions that Munster would sort of run when they wanted to choke out their opponents in the early game so hard, but we haven't necessarily seen Nordavind do this. Nordavind is usually that very late game scaling together, having Chris back in the team and everything. But now that Ericsson has stepped up, he's brought out the Assassins, he's brought out the Silases, and now he's bringing out the Lucian as well. He shows that he wants to play that early game. They want to play aggression, and versus Tricked, it just works like a charm, because Tricked have to do the same to you. And if they are mispositioning all the time, Nordavind is just going to punish.
Alrighty, well, we're on to the Rift for our 2nd game of this series. Winner goes through to the loser bracket final. Yes, I am correct in that. I had a complete brain fart there. I was like, wait, am I wrong? No. So winner of this will be taking on either Fnatic or XL, pending their game next week. That's going to be pretty spicy. Realistically, you need to win. I think there is no second chances. This is the second chance bracket. If you don't get your win here, you're done.
Coming from the lower bracket, I think it makes you fight that much harder, right? Because like we said with Nordavind, they thought it was going to be their last game in the previous best of 3 series when they were all 1 down, and then they gave it their all. You know that every single one of these series could be your last one. All the upper bracket teams are sort of like, sure, like Riddle, right? Even if they lost, they fell down to the lower bracket and they're like, cool, we have yet another try. Same thing with Tricked here. Nordavind have felt what it is to be on that last breath and trying to get out alive. And they've managed it so far. And even in this best of 3 series, they seem to be continuing the same philosophy.
Well, he's actually found Mummus in the top lane. Just went for a light trade versus him. Doesn't really get too much from it. No one's going to... actually, Wazor's going to be able to bully Mummus a little bit. Zoning him off the wave. But overall, they trade out pretty equally. But it is Wazor. He has got the grit to work with, so he'll be fine.
I think they're trying to play on the edge because getting the top laners down super low at the beginning, as you will see, Kha'Zix will probably go,
No, he's fine.
You see, Kha'Zix will go buff to Gromp, get level 3 and most likely go all the way to the top side. If Mummus on the top side is less than 20% HP, could very easily be dived by a Kha'Zix in the set early on. And they have spotted the Sejuani starting top side, so they know that Nolty is not going to be around for that potential dive.
She's trying to punish Chrisberg a little bit there, but kind of need to get that third auto attack to actually get the burst out, so he's okay for the moment now. Like you said, Soft does 3 camps and then looks for a gank. Aaron, this is actually a pretty easy gank. You just go for the taunt, forces the flash out, is going to connect it. Soft makes his way forward, and in goes the first blood. Aaron able to capitalize on it. Ericsson goes down.
Ooh, sweet stuff right there for the mid-jungle duo of Trick. They had to punish the Lucian very early into the game. They take his flash, they take his life, and most likely his teleport too. Now it's going to be a Lucian who wants to be pushing Galio underneath tower. He can't do that anymore because he will most likely lose his life again to the Kha'Zix. And Kha'Zix Galio is not the easiest duo to play against. If you're an ADC in the mid lane, you're extremely squishy. Now with no summoners, it's going to be really hard to punish the Galio.
And we'll hark back to it time and time again. Remember, the Lucian has to snowball. He has to pop off.
He's snowballing deaths right now.
Yeah. They're evolving just backwards. Well, Soft is going to go catch some camps for himself. And I think we're going to see a lot of the jungle mid synergy, especially from Tricked in this game. They have a really good combo to set them up as a Chu actually just tumbles in forward, has to flash away. PlayStation does throw out the polymorph on a Chrisberg, but now he's the one in for a little bit of hurt. Trick, that was a little bit too greedy. You knew your jungler was on the opposite side of the map, so you didn't have any backup. Yet they still won't for the fight.
And that's going to be very crucial because Achu lost his flash, PlayStation lost his heal. So if one of these binds land from Bebop, it could just be the duo of Ezreal Bard going all in on that bot lane, knowing that the Kha'Zix is not around. A little bit overestimating the position of Nolty right there. But in all honesty, it's not very surprising. You are playing towards Chrisberg. You know that you can't play around Ericsson because Ericsson cannot pressure right now. He has to stay as close to his tower as possible. That's why you see Soft and Aaron duoing up and pushing that wave in.
PlayStation actually spotted out on a ward. They're setting up for him. Cosmic Binding's not going to quite connect, and Trick to slowly but surely trying to push this in. But look at the state of the lane. They're bringing Soft over. They're bringing Aaron over. So Aaron is actually going to make his way back towards the bot side. These junglers are setting up. They know Nolty's about. They have that Condemn to work with, so they're just going to look to catch onto him. Slowed down by the Polymorph and the Void Spikes. Great Cosmic Binding will mean they'll be able to disengage, and Soft will just help Trick's bot lane reset, push out the wave, and go for a base.
Hey, he's sort of shadowing his mid lane to crash in the wave. Now he's shadowing his bot lane to crash in the wave. So pretty good stuff right there for Soft. He's helping his lanes, trying to push in so they don't get punished by the Sejuani. And you see that the Sejuani was actually waiting in that bot lane. He knew they wanted to crash in the wave underneath the tower, so he wanted to punish a misstep. Soft is doing an excellent job in both of these games, knowing where Nolty is at all times and forcing him on the side of the map that he knows plays best at.
Yeah, this is a much better showing from Soft than last game, where he actually got himself an advantage early. Then just because of how messy and how crazy that top lane fight was, and Ericsson cashing in on 3 kills, it completely just evaporated everything he'd gained himself over Nolty. This time, he's not looking to invade. He's not looking to kind of pull ahead in the CS department. He's setting his lanes up for success as well. Being able to get that first blood onto Aaron, kind of alleviating the pressure from Ericsson, helping this bot lane reset, who are in arguably a pretty scary situation. They had to shove that way for the health bars were low. So overall, Soft, much better game 2 coming out from him. And I do want to highlight that. I think he's definitely had a good start, but we are only 5 minutes into this game. Infernal Drake is on the map, and for me, it's how these next kind of 5 minutes go out for Soft. If he continues to play this way, then I think Trick set themselves up for a really, really good mid game.
And the problem here for Nordavind will be that in this fight that you mentioned in the Infernal, it's Nordavind that need to snowball these dragons because they don't necessarily have the late game, so they have to force Trick in a position where they fight them before they have item power spikes. And if this doesn't go well for Nordavind and the Lucian does not snowball, he doesn't get any kills, Nordavind lose the dragon, they're gonna have to start thinking that this might just not work out. They're gonna have to start playing possibly side lanes and use that advantage for them. Now, something that we haven't mentioned going into this game is how Ericsson is playing the Lucian to snowball the mid game, but he hasn't necessarily gone with the Ignite. When we saw the Lucian played in Worlds and everything, the mid laners would have Ignite on him, same as in the Tristana, because you want to snowball, you want to get these kills. He opted for the teleport, which at the end of the day, he died, so I guess the teleport benefited him more.
Yeah, in that case, I actually think it was a really good pickup. Now, Aaron
He's like, worth, I knew it.
Aaron has now actually just ticked over the 6, so he does now have the heroic entrance available to him, and look at that already. Members are posturing towards this mid lane, looking to see if they can set Aaron up to roam. She's going to get some free time in the bot lane. Same for Chrisberg. Both these AD carries. Just happy to farm up, but you have to be a little bit careful as Nolty's making his way over. Has been spotted out on a ward. Chrisberg's just going to shift in and look for quite a light trade.
And that's exactly what it is, right? A light trade. You don't have pickaxe yet onto the Ezreal. You only have the Sheen. And because the Vayne has the Vamp Scepter, she's able to lifesteal whatever damage you got onto her. Soft here trying to sneak in that Scuttle Crab, but we talked about how important it is for Nordavind to find that first dragon and start stacking them up. And by getting the Scuttle Crab, they sort of guarantee that Trick will not be able to sneak it.
Yeah, it's a nice one for them. Obviously, they do have the ability for Softers to jump over the wall into the back of the pit. There are no wards within the pit itself, so if he can do that, he actually will be able to sneakily take that one away, and Aaron obviously can always join in with a heroic entrance if things do get a little bit hairy. So we'll see whether or not he wants to do that. For now, he's going to go pick up his red buff, try and get himself level 6 and evolve either his claws or his ulti.
I think he's looking to sneak it because he has the pink ward into the pit, so he can sneak from the back, jump in with the blast gun, and then if he gets found down, if he wants to get out, he can jump back out as well. It is very tricky. He's still level 5. So, as you can see, he's going to his golems. Hopefully, he will be very close to level 6 for him, and that will be much easier for him if he faces the Setsuani into the river.
Yeah, he'll probably be 6 off this here as
There you go.
Has just hit it, and Nolty's actually starting up the Drake. They know this is going on. Soft has ulti. They're going to use the magical journey, but Aaron's not actually on the map. He's going to force the teleport out from Wazer, or Soft uses the adaptive camouflage. Stepping his way up there. Do have a bit of burst to work with, and they may just look to try and secure this dragon. The stun lands down, and Soft is actually looking for kills, not for anything else. The heroic entrance knocks up 4. Here comes Aaron, trying to get this torn off onto a member, unable to do so, but here is a Chew mopping up 1 kill, able to get another one. As Tricks find themselves free.
That was so overzealous by Nordavind. A level 5 Setsuani initiating the dragon. There's a pink ward in the pit. You can see it. It's clearly right in front of you. These are the Nordavind mistakes that have cost them games over and over again. They're trying to snowball the early game. I get it, but that's not the way you do it, because this Galio has 2 kills. He almost has the Proto Belt. There's too much power. There's too much HP on him. And the Lucian cannot do anything. Binding misses from Bebop. He's also level 5. He cannot use his ultimate. There's so many crucial ultimates missing. Bot lane doesn't have ulti either. And as you can see, Achu has level 6. The Kha'Zix has level 6. Trick are more than happy to actually take this fight and take the dragon. Oh, it's actually Nordavind who took the dragon.
Yeah, Nordavind were able to get it because Soft actually didn't have Smite, and Wazor now receiving a lot of attention. Has not got the Haymaker shield, so he will get taken down as Chrisberg cashes in on his first kill.
It's still so sketchy because Nordavind are on a timer. And I get it by getting the dragon still. you might be able to sneak the other two and force a Dragon Soul. But you see that the Galio is already snowballing. He'll be so tough to kill with an Ezreal and a Lucian. And he deals a bunch of damage as well. We might yet see another fight for Shelly.
Yeah, Momus is coming in on the flank, but Tricked have been able to force Nordavind away from the area. Nolty does have the Glacial Prison coming up shortly. This time, Soft teleport up for him. Aaron looking to step forward. They're waiting for that burst. Here comes the Tempered Fate. That's going to be the soul picked up already. Aaron gets the taunt into the Justice Punch. The slam comes through from Wazor into a two-man face breaker. The Haymaker will shut them down, and Tricked once again find themselves 3 kills.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have a series in our hands. We're going to game 3. Not really, but this looks extremely grim for Nordavind. Now it's a 2, getting yet another 2 kills on a Vayne that should have fallen behind from the Ezreal, but this is not the case here. A2 is at a completely favorable spot. They took the Rift Herald, they took the kills, they've got complete control of both sides river, and A2 in the top lane is also going to cash in on a lot of platings.
Yes, all solo gold as well for A2. He picks that one up, actually looks to jump onto Chrisberg. Has got the Lulu in his pocket to keep himself alive. Chrisberg gets chunked out pretty hard, 1 versus 2. Plates gifted over to Achu, and he is happy with this. He is going to be looking to cash in hard. Chrisberg's going to take so much damage, has to shift away, almost going down to Achu there.
It's impossible to trade with a Vayne if you're Ezreal right now. You're behind in gold. You don't necessarily have the items for the bulk. I think he's still on a Sheen basis. So the Vayne is going to punch you together with all the Lulu poke as well. And A2 is having a much better game than he did in the last one. He's showing here that he feels much more comfortable onto the Vayne. And of course, these 2 kills are massively helping. You see the team is also gathering around him. They are playing for him. Wait,
they saw Aaron. Aaron's coming in with the taunt, just going to land it easy. That's Aaron finding 1. Now Bebop Bully's being hunted down, and A2 cashes in on his 3rd kill. They knew that was happening. Tricked just playing that so well. A lot of disrespect coming out from Nordavind in this game too. This will be first Tower Blood gifted over to Achu as well.
First Tower Blood. There is another kill into his pocket. Aaron cashes in onto another one. There is so much gold pumped onto this Vayne. 5.6 is 3.9k. That is 1.7k difference between the 2 ADs. It doesn't get better for the Ezreal because Vayne spikes on the Blade of the Ruin King. She will be able to chase the Sejuani. She will be able to chase the Ornn planes in front of her face. And Chrisberg will just have a mana min stuck in up by that point. So it is extremely rough for the side of Nordavind to play this game. They're going to have to find a very, very miraculous fight. We're looking at the next dragon. It's going to be an ocean. I don't know if Nordavind are even going to try to fight that because they're in no way, shape, or form for it. There's no items on their ADC. That means that Trick will most likely get that one. That means the timer that Nordavind were trying to set on them is no longer there.
You have to be a little bit careful. There's a lot of people about. Has finished up that Blade of the Ruin King. Nolty actually looking to hunt him down. Does have the cleanse and the flash. PlayStation's making his way over. Instantly pops the cleanse. And now they've got the grand entrance coming through. Do catch Achu out momentarily as the True Shot Barrage connects in. And that actually is a big chunk onto Achu. We'll be able to heal back up. Dragon gets picked up for Tricked on the other side of that. And overall, not really anything gained for Nordavind. But they do end up losing out.
Yeah, they get the cleanse out of Achu and they get the ultimate from Aaron, but ultimately there is nothing else to play on the map right now. So Trick are more than happy to use that to save Achu's life. He's the one cashing in on the money. He'll go back top. He will push in that wave. They're pretty healthy right now. They did take the dragon as well to try and refuse that pressure that Nordavind wanted to put with the dragons. In all honesty, I'm really trying to find a way for Nordavind that I'm saying, oh yeah, maybe if they reach this item power spike, they will be able to do it. Maybe if they take a specific objective, they'll be able to do it. I just can't see it. Because Bard is pretty much a non-factor in the fight. Apart from the bind and the ultimate, I don't think he gives too much in a team fight. Your only source of damage is AD, and Lucian sort of falls off in the very late stages of the game. And then you have 2 tanks that, in all honesty, Vayne would be more than happy to fight against.
Yeah, I mean, Achu is in such a good spot right now.
Yeah.
Got the blade, got the recurve bow, building towards that rage blade. And that's the two kind of first spikes for the Vayne. But once you start to get the defensive items as well, that's really crucial for the Vayne. Obviously, your damage is basically loaded into those first two items. Once you've got things like a PD, because you the shield and the survivability, that's what they really want. Now, Chrisberg got the Manamine, got a Sheen to work with, and it looks like there's a bit of a group up here for the members
Around
of
Chrisberg? I can't believe it.
I want to keep him alive, but Achu's just going to go catch the tower in the top lane. Wazel looking to hold this tower, but he's
alone.
1 versus 4. Flashes away from the Call of the Forge God. Is going to get hit by the Tempered Fate. Heroic Entrance not up, and he's got a shield to work with as he uses the slam momentarily. The shield comes down. Wazel's actually buying a lot of time, and they don't actually find the turret yet. Aaron makes his way forward. He's got the Predator Boat. He's got the Wave Clear, and this time he's got Soft to work with. I actually think Wazel did enough to hold this tower.
I'm not sure if Wazel outplayed this or Nordavind whiffed every combo they had to put down, because they definitely did not coordinate the Setsuwani with the Bard, with anything else. I feel like Wazel completely outplayed this, but Nordavind were just not on the same track, and that too just keeps on cashing in on the side lane over and over again, taking every tower down. Next one will be mid lane, which most likely will be forced by an objective. 2 minutes now, we're looking at the next dragon, which is going to be a mountain. And all eyes peeled on that mid lane priority, which Rift Herald can very easily give you, and Soft is already on that.
Yeah, Soft's going to start this up nice and easy for him. Nordavind looking a little bit more lost now coming into this game too. I get a little bit high there.
There's no assassins, man. I'm telling you. There's no assassins.
I'm getting emotional. There's no assassins.
Getting emotional.
My voice was cracking really.
It's okay, Heatbrain. Even if Trick wins, we can go into a game 3.
Exactly.
One.
And that is emotional, because I like League of Legends and I get to watch more League of Legends. I don't mind that I'm currently melting. I am unbelievably hot right now. But Nordavind, they're starting to feel the heat themselves.
Heatbrain is hot. Very official, guys. You heard it from him.
Not that. My ego isn't that big. Culling's been thrown down, and Achu's actually can take a lot of damage. Tempered Fate timed almost perfectly. As down goes Achu. The shutdown's picked up for Chrisberg, and Nordavind now can brute force their way through the mid lane.
That's really good for them. They get all the space they need to start setting down all the vision in the bot quadrant of Soft jungle. Then they can take control of the bot side river, and the dragon's coming up in 50 seconds. They can still do that thing by forcing the dragon soul. This point, that was a very good catch right there. Achu greeded. We've seen it so many times. He greeded for that mid lane tower. He just couldn't wait for the next wave to come, and he instantly gets punished. Now, sure, Nordavind might not have a lot of mixed damage on their team, but they do have a ton of CC.
He had Flash as well. That's a very acute mistake.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he had Cleanse, he had Flash. I mean, the Cleanse wouldn't have helped him versus the Tempered Fate, but he could have flashed away from the everything. Anyway, might have to hold that moment as Achu is actually jumping onto Bebop. Look at that damage. Naughty now condemned into the wall, forced to flash. The Call of the Forge God comes down as the slam is there, and Achu looks to chase Mumus down. The damage is absolutely disgusting from him as he cashes in on a couple more kills, and Nordavind are left scratching their heads after losing their jungler and support.
I'm just scratching my head thinking, what was the thought process behind the Lucian? Because if it doesn't snowball, you're screwed. And right now, Ericsson is quite frankly very, very, very screwed. I mean, he can't play the team fights because when Eren is not in front of his face and he's not running away from the Galio so he can auto-attack something, that something will be a bug chasing him in the likes of Soth, and then he has to run away from him. So as you can see here, Ericsson is like, oh yes, we got the Galio, and then Galio is in his face. He's like, oh, I gotta run away from that Galio. And then Soth is in his case. He's like, oh, I gotta run away from Kha'Zix. What can you not run from? Where can you do damage? It's just not possible. The team fighting ability from Tricked is insane.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that, Trouble. The Rage Blade's now been finished up for Achu on that base as well, so 2 items picked up for the Vayne. pretty much gone, you know, really well for him. He's wasn't contested too hard in lane. He's equal in CS. He sure made that one mistake, but I think we'll forgive him for that, as he has had a really stellar game coming out of that.
As long as it doesn't happen again, Heatbrain.
Yeah, that is actually where I was about to segue into, because the issue we've seen from Achu is he has made positional errors. He has made these mistakes, and those typically seem to pop up in the later stages of the game. That's where they lose a few games, where Achu gets caught out or Aaron gets caught out. Aaron on the Galio, much safer to be able to kind of step in the front line. But if Achu does find himself caught out, they lose all of their late game damage, because Galio later just becomes a front line. He has a lot of damage, but effectively he is just there for front lining. And they are basically playing around Achu just being an absolute beast in team fights. So his positioning is going to be super important. He does have a team who will compensate for his mispositional errors in the fact he's got the Lulu and the Galio.
Yeah.
So it's really down to Nordavind finding these mistakes and punishing. But so far, Achu is not making many mistakes. He's not leaving much room to punish.
You're absolutely right. I feel like the saving grace for Achu here is that he is on a carry that's much more forgivable if you miss position. You know, you've got the invisibility, you've got that. You've got the tumble right there to get out. Can PlayStation get out?
They missed everything on him. Ericsson throws out the culling, and Achu actually is going to have to get the wild growth. In comes the grand entrance. Down goes Chrisberg as PlayStation mops up the kill, and it is an absolute slam from Tricked. They leave Nordavind flabbergasted as they wipe another free off the face of the Rift.
PlayStation trolled them so hard. He got out of the Tempered Fate, instantly stopwatches, and all the abilities from Nordavind just go into the trash can, Heatbrain. Great stuff coming in from Trick. They have finally woke up. They're showing that they have the most superior team here. And it's like, oh, I saved Achu, but will PlayStation survive? Look at that! Every single ability and their moms missed due to that very, very, very intelligent stopwatch from PlayStation. This team fight was all PlayStation. I don't care what you're telling me.
I'm actually going to argue that Aaron also had a really, really good flash taunt onto 4 there.
No, absolutely not, Heatbrain. That was all PlayStation.
Okay.
This is one.
Hold on. He didn't juke anything. He was caught by the Tempered Fate, and Nordavind missed everything while he was in status. I don't know if that was juking.
No, but he wasn't, because that's the thing. He gets out of Tempered Fate and he stopwatches. No one expects that.
Oh, okay, my bad.
That was the stopwatch. That was so 5-head, Heatbrain.
Okay, I thought that was during the Tempered Fate. Okay.
You're right. He took 4 ultimates. He took Bard, Ezreal, Sejuani, and Ornn. That was that was all PlayStation, that fight. That was beautiful. Oh, they also got the Baron, by the way. We might as well tell you guys. At this point, it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, Aaron's actually just going to grab this wave and push it up into Ericsson. Ericsson, Phantom Dancer, Essence River, and Blade the Rune King. As Achu's actually just popped ultimate, and Ericsson was shooting his own Nexus there with the culling.
Hey,
not ideal. Suboptimal, some might say. And I just feel like there's no one able to deal with Achu. Look, he's able to step up, tumble away from any real damage as they do throw down the Tempered Fate once again. This time, PlayStation is going to eat everything. The knocker comes in, but that taunt is absolutely disgusting. Wazor in the middle of the team, coming in with a grand entrance. They get the knock up, but the health bars are low. Trick now looking to run a little bit lower on the members. There's another taunt comes out from Aaron, and Wild Growth is on. Oh my lord, a double kill's been picked up, and Soft and Achu just chase for more. Tricked! What that team fight! That was gorgeous!
They call PlayStation, and I'm like, this is round 2. Can you survive again? You know what the answer is? The answer is yes. Okay, I'll give it to Aaron on this one because he was an absolute beast. His performance on this one is way above what we've ever seen so far. And Trick might actually look to end the game because it's 10 seconds on every single member from Nordavind.
Yeah, they're able to take a tower, but it looks like they are going to back off. Teleport's coming in from Wazor in the mid lane. He's going to try and crash this wave in. Doesn't have the Baron to work with anymore. Dragon spawning up, and that will put them 1 off Soul, which would be another kind of asset to Tricks at the moment.
Phantom Dancer completed. Another shield to add to the collection of shields he's gonna be getting already from PlayStation. This Vayne is impossible to get taken down. We're gonna see again. That fight was beautiful. They catch PlayStation. They cannot kill him because look at Wazer. Wazer goes in. He keeps everyone busy so PlayStation survives. And then Aaron baits them with the hourglass there and completely disintegrates them underneath their own tower. Now, of course, I have to give huge props to PlayStation for that one as well. The thing is that a lot of times in our solo queue games when we're playing against Sorakas, Jannas, Lulus, we're focusing the ADC so hard. But if Lulu, Jannas, and Sorakas usually survive, the ADC will never die. They tried to kill PlayStation. It was a great target picking there, but they just couldn't finish him off. And if you can't finish off PlayStation, no one else will die.
Yeah, Chu just grabbing this wave, shoving it in. We don't have a wave to push with at the moment as Wazel pushing up in the top side. Looking just to take down this last turret outside of the base of Nordavind. Wave's pretty thin though, and they should be able to cut it through fairly quickly, although Aaron is coming in on the flank and actually just going straight in with the showstopper. Here's the big wombo. That forces them to flash away. The Call of the Forge God's going to connect, and the Chu was the one caught out by the Tempered Fate. Aaron has to go golden in the moment. Keep himself alive as the Chu actually just tumbles into Mumus's face. He's just going hard. A Chu found one. Crispberg gets called in, and he's getting absolutely melted. It's a double kill picked up for a Chu. He's going for another one. He finds himself a triple kill. Bebop's going low, and the Chu just mops up a quadra kill. Tricks have turned the game around, and they will go one apiece in the series.
This is redemption for every single time he's gotten caught, for every single game he's lost for Tricked. He won it back. And you know what the most important thing is? He has kept them alive in this series. Series? It's a series. A series, okay. Cool.
As Excandra would say, we have a series on our hands. Tricked get the win, and it is one apiece. Coming off the back of a Vayne from a Chu and a quadra kill to close that out. Beautiful, beautiful stuff there. And I am so excited for Game 3 because this has been a bloodbath, this series. It has been so bloodthirsty. It's been great.
Obviously, there were a lot of question marks on the Nordavind draft right there, especially the Lucian in the mid lane, especially without the ignite. If you want to snowball, you will usually go for that. But Tricked, we've actually congratulated them over and over again how they go into the game with a very clear plan on what they wanted to do. They showcased that here the members stepped up majorly, like they should have done in the previous best of 3, but you live and you learn. That was a new Tricked. That's the one I was rooting for all this time. That was
a new Tricked, and that was recognizing their win conditions, executing on it perfectly, and closing that game out. We're one apiece in the series. We got one more to go. We're going to find out who is progressing in the tournament and who is getting knocked out. Before that, we do have a quick break, so we'll be back with game number 3 between Tricked and Nordavind. We'll see you in a second.
Drink your coffee from your favorite cup, but you're still not waking up. Oh, what a mess. You know how the story goes. Same as yesterday, or so I'm told. Sweep the filthy truth underneath the bed. Cobwebs in the corners inside your head. Oh, what a mess. We've got to clean it up. We trudge right through the mud. We've got to scrub out the trail of lies before
Waking up, the sun is rising. We can go anywhere, do anything. Put your hand in my hand, let's explore. Travel places no one's been before. Leave your fears and hear you calling. Wherever you go, wherever you are, your beauty's unique. The melody's so sweet. Our differences make our union so great. Together we perfect harmony. Perfect harmony. Together we will be perfect harmony. Let's get lost in a forest of green. Lose ourselves in the blue of the sea. Paint the world any color we choose, or a rainbow with all of the hues. Make the world the way that we dream.
We're going to game 3. It is a bounce back from Tricked. They pick up a very convincing win. And honestly, I think I need to start the draft. I know Dan was molding from the very get-go. So I'm going to bring him in on this one because it was definitely an interesting draft from Nordavind. That's the team.
Yeah, I think there's two things to take into account. I think a lot of people would look at that draft and say the end result was a problem. The Lucian mid lane, combined with the fact you only have the damage source, is that Ezreal means you're extremely limited in your damage profile. On top of that, it was a very short range composition. Only really Ezreal is able to do anything from a longer distance. You played into a Galio with the Taunt, a set who has short but very dominating range, and it meant that team fights became incredibly hard. And that's the thing, is that you were on a scaling time limit against the Vayne Lulu. So end result, definitely not a fan of, but it's how we got there. The early Ornn pickup incredibly limits what you were willing to do with your composition. You were no longer in the meta where you're flexing the Ornn to mid or even to bot lane or jungle. It is a top lane pick. So when you pick it that early, you know what you're dealing with in the top lane, and it limits the rest of your team, because if you're not taking a carry in the jungle, which is hard to because you got banned away in the second rotation, you only have your AD carry in mid lane. So you're playing into a Galio, you think, okay, we want something that can actually threaten him in lane. You have now limited yourself massively, because if Lucian didn't pop off there, you lose, and you lose hard. And we saw that. They punished the Lucian early, he fell behind, and he became essentially a walking ward. I think the draft was a massive issue, but I think it made it extremely hard to execute, even if Nordavind played perfect, but ultimately they didn't play perfect either.
But one thing I think we need to praise Trick though as well. You can say that Nordavind kept the same stale draft, but what happened on Trick side is they were actually adaptable. They quickly analyzed what went wrong in the other game. Was like, okay, we still like to have the global, but we're not too confident on it with the Twisted Faith. Put Aaron on the likes of Galio. He was way better on that champion too, and way more pivotal in team fights too. At the same time, getting Archu and PlayStation on that Lulu and Vayne composition was way easier to play out, especially because they had their telegraphed Ornn pick coming in the beginning, and the fact that they also picked the Sedrani in the jungle just made it that much more easy to actually do what you wanted to do at the side of Trick. Played the team fight, you had a nice front line, you had the Kha'Zix who could also facilitate the Galio with his own ultimate, so it's just like way easier for Trick to play this game too.
Well, do you know what? Let's take a look at what Orcs has chosen for play over the game here. I'm sure there are many moments, but Orcs, which one have we gone for?
So this is a big team fight coming out from the side of Tricked, and initially it is set up and the engage is coming out from Nordavind. So the Tempered Fate connects on a PlayStation, and he actually uses a stopwatch after this to avoid all this CC, then flashes the follow-up CC there. So really well played, but this is when the turnaround starts to come in. The ult from the Galio arrives and he dashes in, flashes for a 4-man taunt into the set damage in CC. And although they're not able to dive after that, it's just instantly won from there. And this is the issue. When you start playing forward, there's easy turnaround potential from the set and the Galio. And honestly, we saw those two popping off so hard. Wazo and Eren, we praised them towards the start of the split, and they had an amazing game here that reminded us why we put them on such a pedestal, because when they're on the right champions, they really know how to perform.
Literally just before this, had been criticizing Eren, saying that maybe he had not been living up to the way we built him up at the start of the season. That was a performance to be proud of for him. So many clutch Galio taunts, so many great engages and follow-ups, and actually now have the momentum going into that third game. Gilborg, let's take stock of those first two games, right? Talk to me about what you think worked for Tricked and what you think worked for Nordavind, and how you potentially see this last game going.
Well, in all honesty, it's the same thing that works for them. It's like they like having this team fight composition where you have some more win conditions to play for. Inevitably, there's just way more win conditions in Trick Draft here in the second game. And honestly, I feel like there was in the first game too, but that one came down to micro mistakes. But it's Nordavind who needs that comfort. I don't know if it's that important, get it in on Ericsson, but at the same time, your bot lane was not in a position where they could equalize about how hyped they actually were. They were pushed in the whole time by the bot lane of Tricked here. So to me, it's just have multiple win conditions you can play for instead of narrowing it down to a compositions that's really hard to execute. Do what you have done best, which is just playing out the game how it's played. It's supposed to be played by the book. They had good objective control, and they are actually pretty good at taking the fights, but it's hard taking fights when almost your whole composition is countered by the enemy team.
And I'd love to contrast this compared to the Riddle Fnatic series, particularly the game one, where we saw Riddle come out ahead in a very slow, controlled, macro-oriented style where the kill score was very low. We're not really seeing that here. And I think the reason the Galio worked so much better than Twisted Fate was because how skirmish heavy it is. Also, we saw the Sylas in game one, very skirmish heavy, very effective. And I feel like in a lot of these scenarios, we're seeing these two teams match up and skill check each other. They think, I can now execute you on these skirmishes, a team fight. And that's why I think having the tools to provide yourself with the advantage in those scenarios is exactly what you need for success, because ultimately both of these games have ended up being kind of bloodbaths with a lot of fighting, and I think you need to give yourself picks that either play into that, or I mean, it's dangerous to do this in the third game. You can take a step back and go, right, we're going to approach it from a different direction. We're not going to opt into this fighting, but either way, you need to either avoid it or you need to opt into it, but you can't get away from the fact that it's been an instrumental part in this series.
Absolutely. Completely agree. I mean, you only need to look at the kill scores and the kill score lines, in fact, to see how much has gone down in terms of skirmishing and team fighting in these two games so far. We've got one game guaranteed left. The loser will leave the NLC. The winner will go on to face Riddle and still have a shot at the title alongside one of those coveted European Masters spots. We're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we'll have that draft for the third game. All right, we're into the final draft here, and we can see Nordavind now on blue side. They have changed things up. They have chosen the blue side pick here, and Tricked will be on red. Immediately, the Sonar ban comes through, followed by the Ash. Some slight changes to the ban phase so far.
And I'm hoping them changing side means they're opening up with a new strategy that isn't first rotation on. So
you're gonna get a
fingers
first
crossed.
pick on. That's why they took blue side. Now they can first pick it instead.
Do not toy with me, Goldborg. I will be so annoyed if that does happen. But ultimately, seeing obviously a big shift up difference in sides means that we're often going to see different things banned out. The Sonar still coming out from Nordavind, which is interesting because they are essentially the ones who could dictate that initially, but it suggests that maybe they aren't super keen on playing with it. And given that Crispig is such a pivotal part of the team and often played on these scaling AD carries, I can't understand it from that regard.
Coming out, usually Nordavind has banned in all their games so far Sona, Volibear, and then instead of Azir they banned Caitlyn, but they have never banned Thresh so far, which means that I think they're actually prioritizing the Volibear here, and that might leave open the Trundle that Trick Esports have been banning this whole time for Naughty. But let's see what the last ban is going to be for them here. They actually banned Twisted Faith. That is quite interesting, seeing as Aaron didn't have much success on it.
I think you kind of have read this fairly well, because I would imagine if they ban the Trundle, they pick the Volibear first up here for Nordavind. I just think that's something that, as you mentioned, was gone through the draft this way. That's the way I read it anyway. Obviously, we could be proven wrong, but the Volibear seems like the sensible first choice.
And if they pick Volibear, they won't be taken on because they keep it open as a flex. So I'm already happy. Ultimately, I think one of the reasons potentially they banned the Twisted Fate is because Tricked could take it as a third pick and then ban away other champions that cause an issue. So we saw the Silas picked into it potentially. On red side, Nordavind always have the response. There is always a scenario where they can respond to what is picked out by Trick, but on the blue side, they don't have that luxury. So I think it makes sense in that regard. Obviously, Volibear, priority pick, really important. That does leave over that Caitlyn for a Chew. Does mean he can have a lot of pressure in the bot lane. And there's also a lot of supports like the Karma and others available. And something that did get banned away in game one, but not since, is that Azir for Aaron.
And it would be that ace up your sleeve, right? But okay, guess not. He's just toying with our emotions. We still don't know what support is coming out here, so they prioritize this Galio heavily as well. Second picking it when there's still the likes of Karma open, Morgana if you wanted to go for these kind of priority bot lanes too with the Caitlyn, but they save that one for the last, either support or jungle, I can only imagine.
Could potentially see a set come in as a third pick for Tricked. Ultimately, obviously had a lot of success on that before. And I think there's enough champions you can pick with the Caitlyn that you're comfortable leaving it till a later rotation. Although it depends what is picked up here. So with no bot lane champions picked up so far from Nordavind, I don't feel necessarily like you're going to be like, oh, we need Morgana or we need whatever to go with the Caitlyn. And we'll just have to see what Nordavind come out with. They're actually taking the Azir here. So something that can scale pretty well specifically into the Galio and provide a lot of disengage and safety. And they're going to round out with the Ezreal. So this is a pairing that I really like to see quite commonly because both of them very safe backliners, very long range, causes a lot of issues for particularly comps that trying to dive or short range compositions. So a common and I think powerful pairing.
Yeah, I think actually a much more sensible opening draft segment from Nordavind as well. Now, I imagine they start to target things like Karma and I would imagine Morgana in the next ban phase to try and limit two of the very powerful supports if it wasn't picked here, which is going to be a Gangplank being picked up. Again, we aren't sure where the Volibear is going. Now, I think past habit would lend me to believe that will be Nolty taking the Volibear in the jungle, but again, we still have to see what happens. We're into that second ban phase. Like I said, I think Nordavind likely targets supports here. I will see what Trick choose to do as well.
And I think the funny thing is going to be whether they actually prioritize now, Trick. This is Nolty you want to keep hammering on, or is it actually the bot lane where you want to get, a lead? Because then now you either have to blind pick your jungler, or you will have to blind pick your support, and whatever you go for is going to be the point that you will attack. You kind of have to when you're on the red side here. I would preferably go for that bot side. It is one of Nordavind's strengths, and if you can keep having that under pressure, you would have an easier time securing objectives like Drake's as well, specifically when you have a Galio who's really global, to combine with the cannon barrage too. But obviously I'm not the one coaching them, so let's see what they go for.
Actually, honestly, I like the fact that they're banning away junglers here in the Olaf. Potentially could also see the likes of a Kha'Zix banned away from Soft, because ultimately, I feel like there's too many supports that can pair well with Caitlyn that are open and available. There's the Karma, there's the Morgana, there's the Lux. Even you can go with something like a Janna, but like there's a lot of options here. And I think ideally you want to limit the jungle effectiveness of Soft, because right now it is very much geared up to play around bot lane with the globals mid top and the Caitlyn in the bot lane. It's hard to necessarily stop that, but they pick a powerful jungler that can cause issues across the map. They will take that Karma away. And to be honest, I could see either Soft waiting or just picking the Kha'Zix in this scenario, but I think you have a range of options and Trick should be fine here. The real question mark is going to be, what are Nordavind going to do to try and respond to this? Because ultimately taking Bard Ezreal means you're going to be punished heavily in the bot lane.
You can't say Bard because it's banned, so they're going to have a...
True, I missed that, but yeah. Something along those lines that isn't necessarily going to be able to match up to the Caitlyn plus X, because you're not able to offer that engage. And actually, they opt for this set in the jungle instead of the Kha'Zix. So that combo we talked about and we saw last game is still going to be in place, even though obviously it's not top mid, it's now jungle mid. But we still get the counter pick for bot lane. So a difficult decision for Nordavind and what they want to offer.
And it also gives Trix a bit more frontline to play around with. And obviously, as you just said, the Galio can combine with his ultimate. But there's also the... Ooh, it's actually going to be the Kennen coming in here. I was actually thinking that they would try to default back to one of these on picks again, but they're actually throwing in a bit of a curveball here, which can be kind of nice because you need to go in here with the big engage. There needs to be some follow-up for this Volibear, and if you combine that with the Leona as well, then you have a powerhouse of a team fighting combined with the backline from Ezreal and Azir.
I'm a bit worried about the Leona if it does get locked in. I feel like it's opening up a lot of weakness on the bot side of the map. It does get locked in. Maybe there's all-in potential. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. I think from a pure lane perspective, though, I'm a little worried, I suppose. Morgana's still available after all, you know?
So it's a very aggressive pick, and it's basically what it's saying is that we're going to match your play bot lane and we're going to out execute. One of the things with Leona into Morgana is there's two critical factors. One, your engage is a lot shorter cooldown than the Morgana Black Shield. Black Shield is 26 seconds at level 1, and on top of that, you can E onto one target, wait for the Black Shield, and then you can stun the other. So you have ability to play around that. Now, ultimately, it's still favored for Tricked, but it gives a window for Nordavind. This suggests to me that Nordavind are going to try and match somewhat in the bot lane, and they have a lot of team fighting power in their mid and top side that they potentially lean on later. So they need to essentially answer the Caitlyn Morgan. We'll see if they're able to execute on that, but ultimately I feel like Tricked have come out ahead in what they've got this draft.
Well, it looks like we are heading towards that third game. Have you got anything that you want to kind of round out here, Gulbog, before we leave? Any sort of comments on those two comps?
I think that there obviously is some win conditions rather for Nordavind here, and I actually can see a scenario with the mistake that Trick have been playing and making some micro mistakes, that they can actually come in here and get ahead. The thing is, with Morgana into Kennen, there's only one Black Shield, and usually the first stun is already going to completely demolish the Black Shield, so they will still get stunned afterwards. So they need to be wary of their team fighting, because if there is a skirmish, and this game has or series have been skirmish heavy, Nordavind could still come out on top with the correct flank and the correct setup with Azir.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes down. We have Hit Brain and Trouble ready to take us through our final game of the night here at the NLC. Loser goes home. Winner will move on to face Riddle.
Thank you very much, Excandra. We're getting ready to go into our third and final game of the day. Tricked managed to get a miracle turnaround. I say a miracle turnaround. They had a really good game. They didn't go out 2-0 to Nordavind. Remember, loser goes home, winner keeps on in the tournament. Let's talk about these drafts, Trouble. What do you like? What do you dislike? What are you expecting right now?
I was so excited to hear Dan actually talk about it, because he's all the way on the Tricked side. I'm all the way on the Nordavind side, because I seen them first pick the Volibear. Something that's extremely common over in NA is a lot of teams will leave the Volibear open. They will allow blue side to first pick it, and then they will counter pick it with the set, in the mentality of the second the Volibear dives in, you grab him and dunk him back onto his team. A Volibear that stacks a lot of HP, and this is how the set ultimate works. The more HP that the target that you're using has, the more splash damage it will do in the backline, so that's extremely important. But right here, they have put Trick to try and answer Leona, Kennen, and Volibear. Seth gets to pick one of these three. Even if you take Volibear out, the cannon will still be able to get the engage, and you don't have any sort of champions like a Lee Sin, like an Azil, like a Janna that can throw that cannon back out. So whoever engages, you can only disengage one of these 3 hard engages coming your way.
Yeah.
This is why I like Nordavind's composition personally. I just like the all-in potential, and on the other hand, I see it Tricked very dedicated, right? They still have the Galio that they had a great performance with. They've got the Caitlyn that Achu has been questionable on, but now with the Morgana and the Black Shield, it could be a lot more forgiving if you miss position. And Wazer on a more carry-style champion this time could turn the table around.
Well, we're on to the Rift for our 3rd and final game of the day. Like you were saying, you got to pick your targets with this with the set to disengage, but also Goldborg hit on the desk, and it's actually something we saw in the UKLC finals earlier on this week as well. Morgana only Black Shields one person, and Kennen just pops the shield before the stun goes off. So it basically just gives you a small shield, but then you get stunned. And it was a similar thing where
about the cannon.
It was
the
actually
Solar Flare will fall in, the Leona will go in, the Volibear will go in. What are you gonna Black Shield?
It was like, and last time we saw this as well, the cannon goes in, and they actually had a 0 against them. He got shuffled out, but by then he'd done his 3 ticks to the ultimate. Everybody was stunned, and the rest of the team just mopped the fight up. So, and that was with a Black Shielded member as well. It's actually really, really rough here for PlayStation on the Morgana. Question is what is he going to max? Because, you know, if he maxes Black Shield, I still don't think there's going to be enough to actually survive the AP burst that Momus is going to have. So we'll have to see how this goes. Obviously, as far as the lanes go, Caitlyn Morgana is a very obnoxious lane. Everybody knows it. Everyone who's played into this knows you take that binding, you take the trap, you lose your health bar. It's going to be pretty rough. So we'll have to see how this gets played out. But Chrisberg is running the cleanse for that. So should be okay.
And usually with the Leona, you want to be playing sort of in that middle of the bot lane, in that middle bush above the alcove to try and control the lane. Try to go for these Zenith Blades, and whoever gets the Black Shield, you stun the other person right next to them. At this point, like you mentioned, with all the traps going down, a lot of bindings from PlayStation as well, you won't be able to play control onto that lane. So I'm looking for Bebop to actually roam around the map. This is why you see Crispec having the cleanse. He's playing the Ezreal. He can stay extremely safe into this lane without getting caught and allow Bebop to make some roams around the map and try to free Ericsson.
Well, for now, we are into the laning phase. And Trickster just on the lane in the middle. They can obviously hard shove. They have that double range to work with. PlayStation started with binding and not soil, so it's not like the turbo shove we do see in Soft's actually looking to go in for an early gank onto Ericsson.
Deja vu.
Aaron does have the flash taunt, and they are just looking to hunt him down. He's running away, but he doesn't have a jungler nearby, and that's just going to be him forced out of the lane.
Did Aaron have the flash taunt? Because he was level 1.
He wouldn't have then if he was level 1. I thought he was level 2, but if he was level 1, he wouldn't have.
Yeah, that was a little bit over-rushed. Aaron was level 1, so obviously he couldn't get the taunt, but I'm pretty sure he started with Q there. So Ericsson was actually able to just walk it off, but Soft has been consistently invading Nolty and sort of rotating him around the map wherever he pleases. Nolty, of course, was able to get a full clear up the top, and the only thing he's going to lose is actually his red. So no big deal for him. Soft, though, yet again, he is one step ahead. He is dictating how the jungle pathing will go for both of them. And if you ask me, I feel like in general, Soft has stepped up for Tricked as well. Even though we've seen Aaron make mistakes, Atu make mistakes, Wazer not stepping up to the occasion, Soft has been that consistent link into this team that has been doing the work for them. And I really want to give props to him because he's massively stepped up.
Yeah, I actually do kind of want to bounce off that with Soft as well, because I think the entire series, he's actually had a really good read on Nolty. Game 1 was Ericsson playing that very differently. Is actually, they are looking just to turn this around. They got the binding. There is no shield to work with, and Aaron's coming forward with the taunt. Nolty has to flash away. It's the Haymaker flash secures the kill. First blood to Soft.
Ooh. Trick get the first tell into this river. PlayStation? What are you doing there?
Oh, does land a binding onto Bebop, but he is out.
I mean, we're not expecting them to let the foot off the gas now, right? You know, when one kill goes down, they're bloodthirsty for more. While this fight was happening in the top side, Riva, Achu was also fighting together with Crispberg. And when you see Crispberg's HP and mana pool, you can actually tell that it went all in favor of Achu. So all in all, you've got a Caitlyn that's pushing the lane as intended. You're getting the Ezreal and the Leona underneath the tower. And you're also getting a kill on someone that we have been talking about, Soft, onto that set.
Really good stuff there for them. They're able to shove in this bot lane. They should be able to cash in some plates. And actually, look at Eren going the long way around, looking for the potential dive on the Crispberg and Bebop. Crispberg, very low HP, hasn't really got the mana to work with. They're going to have to teleport to bring Mummus in, and Jukes is just going to walk away. They're happy with that. They're just going to walk away. They got what they needed. Naturally, Mummus is actually going to get jumped onto. They do miss out on the taunt, though. Binding goes wide. This is just great for Tricked. They don't lose anyone. They don't lose anything, really. They just force a teleport out from Nordavind.
A little bit questionable for Momus also to walk in there to try and go and put the ward, because you know you're pulling down the TP because there's 4 people waiting to dive, so there's no point for you going there. Wazer.
Yeah, Wazer on the run, does have the orange, and he's underneath his tower, so not going to go down here. Tricked are just going to cash in on an early dragon for themselves, and they're going to be happy with this. This could set them up for a very early Dragon Soul this game.
And looking at Achu now, he's going to go back to base. I want to see what item he's going to go back to lane with. Because whichever it is, whether it's a pickaxe or a BF sword, even worse, it's going to go up against Crispberg's tier. This Caitlyn is going to hurt. He's already got 1 plate 5 minutes into the game. And there's going to be a bunch more pressure coming in from that Morgana Caitlyn lane. Achu still has his flash available, so he's relatively safe wherever he steps in. And the early game is going all in favor of Tricked so far.
All right, well, as everybody goes back to their lanes after what was a pretty crazy bot lane, Eren actually will come out as a bit of a loser from this. He's down pretty heavily in CS to Ericsson. So it's something they always do need to be a little bit careful of it now, where Ericsson got that level 6 available. PlayStation has a good binding. They don't really have any follow-up as Bebop will threaten them, but Crispberg's going to take a big of a chunk, and Nolty's now making his face known towards his bot side. Do have to be careful, though. There is the black shield, so it's fairly hard to find a pick onto Achu, but they are going to look for it. Holding out, they find the stun onto PlayStation, but Achu just jumps back with the net. Nolty playing this patiently. I like this, and now he's going to step up. They do find a stun onto PlayStation. PlayStation, no flash to work with. Cannon Barrage comes down. They do find a trap onto Bebop, and he's going to take a lot of damage from Achu. The rest of the team are actually collapsing in, and Achu's trying to keep this going for the moment. Soft not got that level 6 mark, as Crispberg just lands a little bit of damage to work with. Soft spotted out on the ward, and Tricked lose their support.
Nice. They punished instantly. PlayStation did not have a flash. They had absolutely no vision, and they greed seeing Bebop being a little bit low, and they tried to trade back and get instantly punished. Now that, of course, does nothing at all for Achu. He still stays in lane. He still gets his CS. So you could say that the only thing that happened there was trying to get Crispberg going a little bit. He is the one cashing in on the kill. He needs the pickaxe in this laning phase to try and have a little bit more impact for these auto attacks to really hurt Achu and try to get the upper hand.
Yeah, you can see Achu's quite happy just shoving in on these plates, trying to cash in on gold. Last time he picked the Caitlyn in the first game of the series, he got 1,500 gold ahead of Crispberg at 9 minutes. He was so far ahead, and Soft actually just spotted out Bebop. He's going to Hex Flash over the wall. PlayStation looking to spot them out, as they're just going for an easy dive. Look at Crispberg's health. They're going to bring in the Galio. Crispberg tries to run under the tower, but he's just going to get auto down by Achu. Taunt goes a little bit wide. Bebop's able to disengage, but 80 carried down. Wave's going to be lost, and Achu's just going to cash in on more and more plates, more and more gold. Nolty will take a response here and take the Herald for himself.
I don't know how many times they've tried to dive Crispberg in the screams, and I quite frankly do not care, because Tricked's dive seemed to work wonders. Crispberg and Bebop did not respect the fact that Galio was not in lane, the fact that they hadn't seen where Soph was hiding, which was in their own jungle, and they instantly get punished, putting the Ezreal further behind in CS, and 3 turret platings going the side of R2. This is going to be a Caitlyn that's going to be hurting very early, that in these dragon fights and river fights is going to be hurting a lot with her auto attacks and her traps.
Yeah, it's pretty scary stuff, actually. Nolty does spot out Soft, but, I mean, Soft's all right.
This skin is so funny. I can't.
The what, sorry?
Putting on the siren and just chasing someone. This skin is hilarious.
He's an English Bobby in that skin.
He's a what?
An English Bobby.
What's an English Bobby?
A police officer.
Oh. You got police officers Bobbies?
Yeah, actually, no, it's Trundle that's the Bobby. Although that used to be more English. I think they changed it a little bit. She's just flashing onto Chrisberg. He's actually got the cannon bros. Chrisberg's dead. He's actually gone.
You see the power. You see the power of the BF sword and the boots right there. We said that unless Chrisberg has the pickaxe, so his auto attacks hurt as well, R2 will always have the upper hand. The name of the game is dive Chrisberg, destroy Chrisberg, get him as far behind as possible so he never catches up. And here they've done just that. Look at that. They're 30 CS ahead right now, 2-0 on this Caitlyn, and all these turret platings will be getting hit really hard. Wazer here respects massively what's going on at the bot side of the map, and he knows that he's in trouble.
Oh, Bebop. Ace in the Hole's going to come through as well. Wazel doesn't have the cannon barrage. You did use it up for the earlier kill, so he has to be a little careful as Nolty is hanging about and has got the Stormbringer available. But I think Wazel's just fine playing weak side. He can step away. He knows his turret's not going to go down, so he's just okay sitting back for the moment. He has the cleanse as well to survive some of the upfront burst. And now they're just looking to dive in onto this bot side. Stormbringer comes up on the top lane as Wazor is going to get himself locked down, uses the orange, tries to survive for a while. Mumus gets an answer kill as Trick to get a kill bot lane. It's a 1-for-1 globally, but the difference is how much damage is going to go onto this turret. Now, there is a Rift Herald in the pocket of Nolty, so the first turret blood race is on, but Trick have already won this, and Achu's getting all that gold solo.
I don't know if they won this.
Nordavind did not get in the dragon. Victor.
Oh, that was so well played by R2 right there. He waited enough so a lot of these creeps die and Chrisberg gets denied of more CS, and then he adds some salt to the wound of Nordavind right there and takes the first tower gold for him as well as the dragon. So everything is going according to plan. I wanted to say that they're trying to dive top lane, and that's a great response from Nolty. He's trying to find something happening on the map because this Caitlyn is unstoppable right now, and the only thing that will be able to take her down is Ericsson's Azir and Mumus's Kennen. Now, everything lies on this Kennen. All the flanks from Mumus, we've only seen him on the own so far. Here, he needs to put his carry pants on and try to go all the way down the backline of Tricked and get R2 in these fights, because I'm pretty sure that the Infinity Edge has been completed on this Caitlyn, and this is going to be devastating in the next fights to come.
I mean, once again, Achu just pulls ahead miles in CS. Look, it's not CS, sorry, in gold. I mean, he has pulled ahead miles in CS, but it's gold. The raw gold Achu has over Chrisberg is enormous. It's so big. If we quickly toggle back to the items, actually, we can see what he's got in his inventory. Is PlayStation has to be a little careful. Mumus able to chunk him out. Yes, the Infinity Edge. He's got the buildings of his Stormrazor. Achu is he's going to get plates here topside. He's still got a while to actually pick up a little bit more for himself. Mumus does have the ultimate available, and they are just looking to fight onto Achu. Remember, there's no turret available. Going to try and set some traps up, but Mumus can just collapse in. Achu gets everything thrown onto him. That's a lot of shields. That's a lot of CC. Achu's taunted up. He's actually still alive. Achu's not down. And Nolty's going to fall. Ace in the Hole will secure as the true shot goes wide. Bebop will fall as well. It's a double kill for Soft. Tricks played that gorgeously. And Ericsson, you're going to have to shuffle pretty far.
Nordavind actually got tricked by themselves.
I did it! Sorry, you can go back to your serious point now. No, you can't. You actually can't.
There's
They're teleporting onto Achu.
What, 500 gold shutdown? Let's go.
Yeah, he actually missed out on the 90 cal there. Throws a trap down. Soft's
Oh
coming in.
my God.
And Chu is actually a demon right now. No one can deal with him. He's going to get a plate instead. Wait, a Chu. That was...
There we go.
Okay, there you go.
At last. Now I can get back to my point where we've highlighted that Nordavind's carry is Chrisberg and they're fighting. They're still fighting, so I'm not going to continue my point. Off you go, Hipbrain.
PlayStation gets stunned up, and he's probably just going to fall here. He doesn't have the flash. Wazel's going to try and buy him out some time, but the Stormbringer means they're able to get it. Do get a good black shield off, binding off onto Nulty. Doesn't mean he takes a fair amount of damage, and Wazel got the components towards that. Trinity Force, they're getting closer and closer. But let's have a little look at all that madness in the top lane once again.
That was indeed madness. I like the fact that Ericsson pulls a TP right here, but he gets binded by a beautiful Morgana bind. And then when Eren dives down the back line, Achu does not end up dying. And I just want to remind everyone that hasn't noticed that the myth, the legend is all the way down the bot lane. Chrisberg had not a single auto attack in this fight. That was an unfavorable 4v5 for Nordavind. They knew it. They know the teleports. They knew that globals existed for Trick, and yet they still pulled the trigger. What?
Oh, Ericsson. Oh, Ericsson, this is not where you want to be, my dude. He gets the slam back, but gets brought with him, and a Chu cashes in on the kill. They're going to get a turret in the mid lane for that.
Wow, this Nordavind looks so lost on the map. Trick that putting the pressure down, and Nordavind are actually breaking under it. Trick that back to the old good ways where they're pulling the trigger continuously over and over again. And if you don't react in a correct manner, they're going to take everything from you. Now, that's a Caitlyn that took a bunch of plates from the mid lane and the bot lane. She's absolutely rich right now, got a second BF in her inventory. And as you can see, the second Rift Herald is going to go down in favor of Tricked this time. And they could potentially take the top lane tier 1. Matthew has to be extremely careful with his positioning. We've criticized his Caitlyn over and over again because he mispositions slightly when enemy turrets are missing. He wants to push the wave, but it's not under a lot of vision, and he doesn't necessarily have all the vision in the world around him. And Bebop is on the side.
So it looks like Tricktar now setting up for this next dragon. This will be their third if they can get it, as Binding actually does land, and they're just going to look to jump straight onto Ericsson. Caught out by the taunt. The cannon barrage means Wazel's going to be able to cash in on the kill. Beautiful stuff from him. And this is just the dragon now for Trick. To choose, just going to continue to push towers. He's not even he doesn't even care about the dragon. He's got Soft with a Rift Herald. He's going to be able to take this tower. They may actually be able to push for a second here, as they're going to take the tower before the charge comes down. And Nordavind are just caught off. They're on the completely wrong side of the map.
I don't
To be
think
able
there's
to deal
anything
with
they can
it.
do here, even if they were at the correct side of the map. Ericsson is missing.
Wait,
they don't necessarily have wave clear, so they have to take another boop. They might actually have to take a fight here because they would just lose too much. Trick have just completely destroyed 2 towers back to back. And then they're also going to go for the Infernal Dragon, which will put them on Soul Point. Nordavind need to get themselves together. Ericsson needs to remember his first game performance and try to replicate, because if he doesn't, this looks really green from the Nordavind side.
He wasn't set up as well as he was in the last game. Eren doing a good job of zoning duty here. Gets the black shield on, gets the big taunt as the dragon's picked up. Achu is the one caught in the center. Mumus throws the ultimate dab onto all of the wrong targets, and Achu's able to kite Nulty away. Nordavind's health bars are low, but the same can be said for Tricked here. They are just going to step away, finding their pick onto the mid laner. Tricked get the dragon. They're happy with this. They can step back and look to defend this mid lane tower.
At the end of the day, you're very happy to lose your Galio for a dragon that puts Nordavind on a timer, that puts Nordavind having to reply to your decision-making, because... Chrisbeck, surely not. Okay. Because this is literally what has put Nordavind on the grave over and over again, them having to reply to aggression. They're not that great at it. And again, they're starting a fight. They have to start this fight with Chrisbeck on 0 mana. This could have been a completely different fight had Chrisberg had mana onto this Ezreal. Of course, presence of mind, very OP here, gives him mana at the end, but ultimately Trick just wanted the dragon and got out.
this is a very early soul. We're looking like a 21-minute soul if Trick can get it. And at that point, I think a 21-minute soul on this Trick comp, considering how fed Achu is, I just don't know if Nordavind can pull it back. Like,
he's gonna transform into Aphelios with Infernum.
He actually is. And Chrisberg's hit his 2-item power spike on the Ezreal, but Achu's
I don't think it matters. Yeah.
Achu's hit his 2-item power spike on the Caitlyn. But more expensive, by the way. So you can see the gold graph on your screens right now. It's been on a steady increase for the entirety of the game. And Trick, much better performance on the Caitlyn from the game 1. A lot of that is Ericsson was held at bay. He was dealt with. Aaron picked this Galio, and it seems to have been the best pick for Trick in this series. Cannon Barrage means that this tower is probably not under any real threat of falling down, as Aaron is there with the Winds of War as well. And Achu's just cashing in on more turrets. He is getting so much turret gold. I can't emphasize how much gold Achu's got. I mean, you can see 9,800 gold. He's almost got 10k gold this game. While Chrisberg, 6,400. The gold difference between the AD carries is gigantic. It's a 2-level lead to Achu.
These headshots are going to be hitting really hard, and yet again, you see which side each team is playing for.
Oh, you don't get to talk.
I think.
Oh, Achu, good flash back. Actually just getting the chunk off, acing the hole into the binding. They look to turn this around, slamming in Bebop into Chrisberg as they just find more. That's going to be a double kill over the Trick. Nice and easy, and Achu survives.
Oh, anything they try, Achu cannot be caught. He has Aaron there. He has PlayStation there. He has Soft there. He has so many Guardian Angels, and Nordavind just throw themselves at them to try and stop this. Ericsson yet again not able to get a shuffle back to shut them down. They will pull their TP. They might go for a last breath fight here, but the Baron is going down extremely quickly here, Bryn.
Aaron just sitting in the bush waiting for that big taunt. Mummus is coming in on the flank, though. That's the one you need to watch. Ericsson going to get taken down by Wazor. Mummus, though, look at the health bars on Trick. To choose the only one who's fairly healthy here, and Soft is going to have to smite soon, or he's just going to be forced away. Nulti being zoned off from Wazor. The Cannon Barrage actually comes down. They're looking to commit onto him. It's just going to be able to speed himself up and get out. Nordavind, the silver lining is they didn't lose the Baron.
Soft was extremely low on this Baron, and he could potentially die if Mummus decided to go in with the cannon, and then you're actually smiteless, and the Baron could go to anyone. So that was very wise from Trick. They understood they had really low HP bars, and they pulled back because they didn't want the potential for Nordavind to stall this. You see that Achu there with a really clutch flash. Gets out. Chrisberg tries to stop the last bullet from the ultimate to go in, but that was also his downfall. Everyone piles on there to save Ericsson, which ultimately was the correct move because Ericsson stopped the Baron.
Time and time again, the Galio magic shield on Achu is what saved him. In that top lane fight right at the beginning where Achu got fed off, that was Black Shield from PlayStation and then a Magic Shield from Aaron. They just had double Magic Shields onto Achu. And that actually does mean that Mummus's damage actually really does struggle to stick. They can't burst it to get the CC down. And Achu's just able to survive and kite out. And now, 15 seconds until this Infernal Drake's set coming through, Achu's setting up the traps. He's got that nice little line to just say, this is his line in his stand, and if Nordavind want to step up, they're going to have to lose health bar. That is the tax, as they just slam Bebop in. Good combo, as Bebop is in the bounce house. And Achu cashes on another kill. Not to use the Stormbreaker. That's going to be the turnaround. Slicing Maelstrom just cuts through the health bars. Achu's going to go down already. He has found himself a double kill, though, as they do get the taunt back off on the return. And Wazor cashing in on more. Nordavind, they finally find Achu, but they lose 4 to do so.
We said it was going to be Mummus versus Achu here. Achu comes out on top because even when he gets caught, it doesn't matter. Mummus is just not fed enough to finish the fight. And I was just about to say, before Bebop got caught there, I don't think Bebop should be the one face-checking. He's one of these squishier members of the team. I would rather have Nolty in the front line, and then they get instantly punished. Soul is going to be given away to Trick. They also take the inhibitor, and now with the whole lane pushing into the Nordavind base, the Baron is what is in Trick's sight. So, seeing this again, I feel like Bebop is getting way too far in, away from his stream. They're trying to find a way into the river to try and stop the soul from going down. I get it. And here you see how much damage Momus is able to put down. It did 0 to Aaron. It did nothing to that Galio, and that Galio is what's standing in between Ericsson and Chrisberg. If the Galio doesn't go down, then the 2 carries from Nordavind can actually not deal damage, and even though Momus can actually kill Achu, there's so many more threats in this team.
The interesting thing about that fight actually was exactly what we brought up just before the fight went down, where the double magic shields means it's actually really hard to cut through Achu. That time they actually didn't put any of those magic shields on Achu, and he was bursted out. So you can see the difference there, but even so, it didn't matter. They still won the fight. I mean, the gold lead is just enormous right now for Tricked, and they now finally have that Infernal Soul. And Nordavind, they're just going to struggle to be able to face check into Tricked.
They're just going to have to group up at this point and try to walk in all together if they want to get any vision. Luckily for them, they do still have the Skull Crab, so they'll see who goes in and out of the river towards the Baron. But it's very crucial to see that the Deadman's Blade, the first proper item other than juggle item on the Volibear, was completed now with some armor on it. Well, Achu on that Caitlyn has Infinity Edge, Storm Razor, and Rapid Fire Cannon, plus extra crits. For Wazer, you've got completed Trinity Force and Death's Dance. They're going to be cutting through the front line of Nordavind like it's a piece of jelly.
They do see Tricked on this Baron as they are starting it up. Ericsson making his way forward. Aaron in the bush, though, coming in for the taunt onto Bebop Bully, and this may just be that turnaround they want to look for. Rodabel gets used by Aaron, and Chrisberg actually gets zoned away. Here comes the cannon barrage, and Nordavind actually have to use everything defensively. The Blast Cone, once again, kind of into Chew, but a big taunt comes down as they do get the slam off on the moment. Soft's going to find himself picked up. They do jump in, though. Bebop Bully taking so much damage from a Chew as he's cut down. Nordavind lose their support. To trade jungler for support, and PlayStation spots out Ericsson. Ericsson looks to jump away as the double kill gets picked up for Chu inside the basin. Trick may just have done this. Chrisberg has to shift away. They don't even need the Baron. They're actually just starting up onto these turrets to kill onto the Azir. They don't have the wave clear to work with, and Achu's just taking Nulty down on top of the base. This is such a good Caitlyn performance for him. Chrisberg does get an answer out kill, but it doesn't mean anything as Achu will look to try and capitalize on one last kill. Bebop's back and alive, but Tricked may just have done this. The AD carry's going to go down. They're looking for the glory kills. A double kill for Achu. 12 and 2. 25 minutes on the clock, and Tricked are through to the next round of playoffs.
They have redeemed themselves. They are back. They're actually on form, back to what they used to be. When I believe, you know what it took, Kiprain? It took me not predicting them for them to put the foot on the gas. I'm actually not going to predict Tricks from here on out, so they do the same thing. At the end of the day, I think Soph has massively stepped up for this team. He had an amazing performance. Even in the games that they lost in the previous best of 3, he has had a very stellar performance. He has been the member that's always so consistent, trying his hardest. I feel like he manipulated Nolty around the map game and game and game again. He had him where he wanted him, and so he freed all this pressure out of his solo laners and his bot lane. That was a great display of a jungler right there. I'm gonna say, I think it was Soph difference here.
I also want to note that Aaron played well with Soph. I think the jungle mid synergy on Tricked in this series was really stellar. Yep. Even in that first game where they lost that top lane dive, but even so, they were still playing with Soph and Aaron as a pairing. They were always walking around the map together, looking to Roman. The switch to the Galio enabled that even more. And overall, I genuinely think Soph and Aaron, even though Chu's had some really good games on these last 2 games, Soph and Aaron are the 2 kind of MVPs for me from this series for Tricked, because they were the 2 that enabled the snowball for Tricked. And for Nordavind, it was a bloodbath. It was close, and unfortunately, it wasn't enough for them to take the win. But with that, Tricked are through into the losers bracket final, and that'll be going on next week. And we'll be finding out who they'll be playing versus next week as well. But man, I am so excited to see how this Tricked are going to pair up versus either BTXL or Fnatic Rising. But for now, guys, we are going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back, we'll have the analyst desk to break that down. So we will see you in a second.
If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. You're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. Yeah, you're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night.
It's your last summer, we've been undercover, sending letters to each other on some social network. When they got away, a mid-August day, my thoughts were escaping, but buried in you. It's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late.
Well, Tricked bounce back. They take the 2-1 win over Nordavind and will meet Riddle in that elimination match played next week. Now, Orcs, I do remember you kind of talking to me throughout that series and saying it did feel like a little bit of Draft Kingdom.
Yeah, I feel like particularly in that last game, the win conditions were far easier for Tricked. They knew they needed a player on the bot lane. They had an infinite amount of tools to do so, and the execution was there on top of that. I feel like it was kind of a little bit of handicapping from Nordavind's side because I think that Game 3 draft and various other ones throughout the series just made things difficult. I think, again, when they had that Lucian mid, it just wasn't going to be. They did try, but ultimately it wasn't just the draft. It was also Tricked were just cleaner on the day.
And I completely agree with that. I think they had a lot of slack in the first game, especially from the mid lane. I don't know what they said to Eren, but his performance on Galio just evolved. Specifically in our third game here, he was really good at influencing the bot side of the map, and not only just soft as well. It was like a flashback to the BTXL game against Gotham, all the way back to the first week of a split here. They were just really good at dominating the bot lane that's usually the win condition from Nordavind, and you could just see they did not feel comfortable with Chrisberg being so far behind as well.
Yeah, definitely looked that way. Honestly, Nordavind looked out of sorts those last two games. Ericsson as well, like he went from having one of the best performances he's had the entire NLC long to two pretty mediocre performances, but that might just be down to how, honestly, Tricked put pressure on them so hard. They just weren't able to respond easily. Look, let's have a look at your selected play of the match here, Orcs, and we can kind of run through this play together.
Yeah, I just want to take a look in this one specifically at the bodyguarding that is done specifically by Soph and by Eren here, just to keep Achu alive. So much dive coming onto, and you can see how low Achu is, but the Galio and that set coming in to be clutch to defend the Caitlyn and keep it alive, and then it's just clean up from there on out. Honestly, I feel like this was the story of the game. You're trying to get backline access, and it just gets completely prevented by this huge front line that they're able to pick up. And I think the pivotal thing, if you want to highlight any combination for this series, is having this set and the Galio together was just instrumental. We said this was a skirmish heavy series, and they opted into that. They picked global presence in the Gangplank and the Galio. They picked super good skirmishing in the Galio and the set, and it just meant whenever you join these fights, there was a big cluster. Kennen's trying to get in, Volibear's trying to get in, there's CC, you have Set flipping the Kennen away. Honestly, the execution was really great in that, but I feel like the champs just made it a walk in the park for them.
Well, lucky for you, Orcs, and I guess lucky for everybody else, we actually have Pad ready for an interview, so we can probably dive into that just a little bit more. Can you hear me, Pad?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Great. First of all, congratulations. A nice reverse sweep in the best of three to get yourselves into that matchup with Riddle. Let's expand on that a little bit. What was your focus for this series, both draft and kind of in-game?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been vocal about it on Twitter previously, and I just think that in general that Group A is a bit of a slower group in terms of like how they play the game. Like they play really slow, don't contest a lot of heroes, like just kind of play back and wait for enemy team to make macro mistakes, and then they punish those openings that they're allowed. And I think specifically for Nordavind, like they have been drafting so heavily around like really sacking Nolts in the drafts and sacking Mumos in the draft to make sure that Chrisberg gets good matchups so he can go like just even. They don't even play to put him super far ahead. He's like a reliable 3-item ADC. So we just went in knowing that we wanted to play faster than what they usually do in Group A, and we knew that we wanted to target Chrisberg because he's like their go-to carry.
Yeah, and it seemed to work out for you. Obviously, you had a bit of a misstep in the first game, I think mainly due to Ericsson snowballing, but realistically, like you managed to find your feet coming back into those second two games. I also want to talk a little bit about the journey Tricked have been through to the NLC, because they came in and everybody was singing their praises. There was people talking about Eren potentially being the best mid laner in the league, or at least in the conversation. And then about halfway through, Tricked started to fall off a little bit. You had a bit of a dip in sort of the second half of the NLC. What happened there, and what were you doing as a team to bounce back for playoffs?
Yeah, all right. So one of the first things I ever do when I am introduced to a new team, or like I get my 5 players down, well, on one of the first days, like the introduction days of the team, I sit down and I do something. I do like my philosophy to the game, right? How I want to approach macro, how I want to approach communication, but also how I want to approach like the mental state of the game, right? So the players were introduced to something called like the team development stages, where there are many multiple stages, and we knew all the time when we were slumping, like that we were in what's called the storming phase, and that's where that's where a lot of teams goes to. It's completely natural for any sports team, esport, football, whatever. You hit a wall, right? And then once you hit that wall, you have two choices: either you climb that wall or you break and you go back, right? And then you see these teams start replacing players, and then they get like that sweet honeymoon phase for 2 weeks, but then everything goes wrong again. So we were very clear in addressing this issue, right? That we were in the storming, and we didn't want to do like a replacement, pull in a new player, or like do any quick fixes. We wanted to do the long-term fix, right? So we brought in a sports psychologist to have an authoritative voice that I cannot have in that aspect, right? I'm not a educated psychologist, so I cannot be that. I have tools from that world that I can use, but I'm not that. And bringing that guy in, like, just did a big thing. Like it just like I know it sounds like a bit of a fairy tale, but we kind of just sat down, we talked everything out. I'm not gonna like go too much into it, but we basically found our chimps and our champs, right? And our champs is when we are performing, our chimps when we are running it down versus M&M. So we basically just learned to visualize our chimps, our champs, and then I think that helped us tremendously over the past 2 weeks for bouncing back, getting over the storming, and coming into the performing.
I mean, that is a really, really interesting insight. We don't get to hear kind of that kind of story from teams that often. So yeah, really, really cool to hear that you actually actively took steps, and it obviously has worked, because you're now going into that matchup next week versus Riddle. And I think the last thing that I want to chat to you about is that matchup versus Riddle. How do you see Tricked approaching it? Riddle, I think, are in a very good phase of their team right now. They're looking pretty strong, not without mistakes, of course, but they are seemingly on the upswing. How do you envision dealing with Riddle coming up to this series?
Okay, I mean, Riddle for sure looks strong. I think after they got the Cold in, like the old Origin jungler, to help coaching, they have looked like much better. Like they look like to have found an identity. They learned how to sack their bot lane, give them like picks that can like not int, because like that's for sure like the weakest link, right? Like. And then Maxi picked up a couple of ganking junglers, so he's not like completely like one-dimensional in his jungling. And of course, you have Doxy, who's like just taking like he's just taking down every top lane in the group A, like 1v1, right? He doesn't even need Maxi. So and Senku's stepping up as well. Senku's has been surprisingly good, like just like generally like really good. So for us going into that matchup, it's very clear that like we have a mega strong bot lane, and they don't, right? Then we have a mega strong mid lane, right? And then I think what's different from our squad to a lot of the A-team squads, or what Riddle has faced so far, is that we have Vaysor top lane, and Vaysor will not get rickrolled when we won by Doxy. So I think that it's going to be a way more even match than people are probably thinking after seeing like Riddle beating Excel, and we choked yesterday, especially in game 2, you know. But I think that the fact that Doxy won't just auto win his matchup when we won is going to make it a lot easier for us to approach that matchup.
I'm really excited. You guys definitely seem to have a really solid kind of like backroom staff sort of theology going on, and it seems to be working out really well. You're in our top 4, obviously, with XL, Tricked, and you're Tricked, XL, Fnatic, and Riddle. And obviously, that's now you're like sort of 1 or 2 games away from potentially European Masters and obviously being NLC champion. So I wish you all the luck. We'll see you next week, and yeah, we'll see you in that series.
Thank you, and have a good night. Thank you.
Really good insight, actually, there from Pad. Obviously, like, just I think they put a lot of effort into discerning like how they needed to improve, what they needed to focus on. And I love the fact that they talked about team building, because that's just, funny enough, is something I'm studying right now as well. And he's right, that storming phase is where something goes wrong, you're not sure what it is, but overcoming it as a team is what can help get you to a higher level of play. And we're kind of maybe seeing Tricked elevate to that. Guys, I do want to sort of get on and have a look at the highlights from today. We had a lot of games, and I think it'd be nice to reflect on some of them. So guys, walk me through the games. We'll start with that first one, which was that Barrage series.
Ultimately, game 1, super one-sided for Riddle, but we saw the bounce back, and I really feel like, and I still hold true to this, I think they should have gone to a game 3, but ultimately Barrage, with all the tools in hand, with Flipper making big plays like this on the Skarn and finding them advantages, still coming out behind in the series. It was some clutch execution on team fights from Riddle that managed to get them through this one with a 2-0. But ultimately, what I will say is it's not a good omen for Riddle, who now has to face up against Tricked, because they showed weakness in that series.
Well, I completely agree with that. At the same time, I feel like Riddle is just that team that they are kind of rising to the experience of the team that they are playing against. They have 2-0 XL. They took a game off Fnatic, and as soon as they're playing against Barrage, I don't know if it's a mental thing, but it just seems like they're playing more cocky and making more mistakes and draft mistakes too. So I actually think that when they're going against Trick, they will be a bit more level-headed with them rather than what we say today. But I completely agree with that. It should have gone to game 3.
We talked about it in a lot of the games that we talked about today, specifically when it came to Caitlyn as well, like that micro positioning, like one wrong foot in the late game, especially because Denvox, they really was carrying Barrage in that particular game. You know, one wrong foot and everything can go a little bit awry. So I think we can't put too much on them. Like that one mistake just got punished really well by Riddle. But overall, I'm really excited for the series that we've got left. We're going to have XL versus Fnatic. We're going to have Riddle versus Tricked, 2 incredibly good series. Obviously, it's the El Clasico over the UK scene when you look at XL versus Fnatic over the last few years. Let's have a look at our play of the day then. I believe we have a specific play of the day that we have selected here, Dan.
Yeah, so be able to get a look at this one, and ultimately, this is one of the approaches to the team fights in the Nordavind against Tricked series. And I think the critical thing is just watching Ericsson's impact on the backline, and then a Choose big mistake is the pivotal one here. As you're talking about, flashes out of this dangerous situation after the double stasis, ends up in the middle of the fight and just gets absolutely decimated. That was a pivotal moment in this series, and a lot of momentum was lost on the back of that, because really, I think if a Chu was more consistent with that, we would have seen a much more dominant performance coming out from Tricked in that series. It wouldn't even have possibly gone all the way to 3 games. So the big mistake, and we saw that not just in that game, but as well in that first series coming up.
And I think also it highlighted that Nordavind are capable. They are a team that definitely can take the fight to Tricked where necessary, but Tricked just able to find the style that worked for them over the last 2 games. And like we said, we have our brackets sorted. So let's take a look at the brackets, and we can have a look towards next week as well. And we will have these 2 best of series being played on, I believe, the Saturday. So next Saturday, I'm not talking about the Saturday coming up this week. I'm talking about Saturday, the 15th of August. We will have Riddle and Tricked and BTXL and Fnatic playing against each other. And that will be the 2 series that we will have on the Saturday. I am very much looking forward to it. I think they're going to be 2 incredible series, especially the Fnatic versus XL one, because that's always going to be hype. But Riddle versus Tricked, I think, will be especially good as well. And then on the Sunday, we'll have the Constellation Final, where we have the loser of BTXL and Fnatic taking on the winner of Riddle and Tricked. The winner of that will then go back into the grand final, played directly afterwards, and that will be determining our winner of the NLC. But also, both teams that make it into the grand final will guarantee themselves at least a spot at the European Masters. One will go to play-ins, and the other will go to the main stage group. And that about rounds out this week. That is, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, I've been really having a lot of fun during the playoffs. We've had very, very action-packed 3 days. We've had lots of games to cover. We've had plenty of hours of broadcasts under our belt, and we are not quite done yet. We've got those 4 best-of series coming to you next weekend, and we will see you there. So I just say it.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Orcs is giga boosted.
Hands up, generation, Nintendo education, other kinds of wealth.
sentimental.